Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
Good, bro. Gentlemen, good to see you again. You're back into the world of crazy people and animals. I watched episode 1 today. Like, oh, God. First of all, where the fuck do you find these people? You live in that world. Like, you're in the world of reptiles. Yeah. We should just explain. It's a docuseries. It's on HBO. It's called Monsters of God, and it's all about the reptile trade, which may or may not be responsible for Florida having 500,000 pythons.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's debatable, right? Like, it seems like it was partially pet owners who let them go, and partially there was some sort of a reptile research facility or something like that.
Well, there's different theories. There was a hurricane theory. It was the people letting go. I think the more reasonable one, because I had a Burmese python in the 70s when I was a teenager. I have a photo of it around my neck.
What happened to it?
People buy them when they're this big, and then when they're 15 feet, they let them go. Because what do you know? And they're
Is that what you did?
I did not let it go, but
What did you do?
I have no idea what happened to it, to be honest.
That's weird.
I know.
You had a monster, and you don't know what happened to your monster?
I think when I went to college briefly, I gave it to someone, and then I don't know what happened to it. But I gave my whole menagerie away to people when I went to college. I had reptiles in my room.
Is there an extra level of responsibility when you're giving away monsters? You know what I mean? Like, if you have a Chihuahua and your friend's like, I'll take her, I love her. That's, you don't really have to worry about you have a fucking python? You're giving away a python?
You got to worry about your Chihuahua because the pythons in the Everglades are going to eat your Chihuahua when it gets away.
Well, certainly you worry about that. But, I mean, you don't worry about your Chihuahua being a monster.
I'm kidding. Yeah.
I mean, if you have a 15-foot python, that can eat a lot of things. And it kind of needs to eat a lot of things.
Yeah, Burmese pythons did really well in South Florida. Iguanas did really well in Florida. They weren't there in the beginning.
That's a good way to put it, did really well. Another way to put it is invasive species that's destroying the ecosystem.
Well, they're like us, Joe. They're like us. We came here and we took over.
Yeah, I guess, in a lot of ways. So why did you choose this particular subject for this new docuseries?
I'm not going to let Jeremy talk. No, he'll talk. But I'll just give you a lot of it starts with me, so you can blame me, and then Jeremy you can blame later.
Yeah. Well, you guys did Chimp Crazy, which is one of my favorites. It's so fucking insane. That world is so insane.
Well, episode 1 is kind of setting the table. It gets better, Joe. It gets more off the charts when you.
I can only imagine.
When you watch 2 and 3 and 4, but and 5. Yeah, it all started. First of all, I'm a reptile guy. I've been keeping reptiles and studying reptiles for over, I'm an old guy. I'm older than you are. So, I've kept them for, 60 years, plus. I've kept reptiles since my parents gave me a tortoise when I was 6. And I was catching rattlesnakes in my lunchbox and horned lizards. And you got horned lizards in Texas here that are really cool, and rattlesnakes. I've been bit by rattlesnakes. It's not fun.
You got bit by a rattlesnake?
Yeah, but that's another story.
More times than one?
No, I got bit once because I learned my lesson after the first one.
What happened?
It wasn't good. Don't get bit
Where'd
by a
you get
rattlesnake.
bit?
On my foot.
Did you experience necrosis rather?
So normally you would get necrosis where your finger would rot. And then the guy that, the doctor that I went to at a hospital, in the emergency.
Pull up to the microphone a little bit.
The doctor, in the emergency room said, the last guy in here that got bit by a rattlesnake lost his toe or something, or lost his digits. And he said, good thing you didn't get bit on a finger because the necrosis can rot away your finger. And he said, good thing you got bit on the middle of the foot. You're going to be okay. But this type of rattlesnake I got bit by, there's the most venomous rattlesnake in the country is called a tiger rattlesnake, but it's not the most dangerous. Most dangerous is probably a Mojave rattlesnake or an eastern diamondback rattlesnake, but you have western diamondbacks here. But I got bit by a rattlesnake that had both hemotoxin and neurotoxin. So the necrosis was less evident with me, and it was more like a cobra where I was starting to stop breathing, and I felt like someone had put sandbags on my chest an hour into it. But the first thing you sense is obviously it feels like someone jabbed me with an X-Acto knife. And I looked down and the rattlesnake was retracting into a burrow. I looked at my foot. But then you taste a metallic taste in about 15 minutes, and you realize, this wasn't a dry bite. But it's not fun. I got a lot of antivenom. They make a different antivenom today. I got bit 25 years ago.
And how long does it take you to recover from something like that?
You know, the most painful part was the serum sickness from the antivenom. The stop breathing thing. I remember I was on a gurney and I felt like I was going to stop breathing, but weirdly not that painful. But yet you feel like you're going to die and stop breathing. But the serum sickness is just unbelievably intense for weeks, and you just have the most insane fever, and you get these red blotches all over you. But they make a different serum now. That one was made out of horse antibodies that they put into you, and my body didn't like those horse antibodies.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Also, maybe don't wear Birkenstocks when you hike. That's probably the...
River sandals. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, because I got bit. Most people get bit fucking around with a rattlesnake. I wasn't.
What is this, Jimmy?
They used all of the antivenom at the hospital and had to go get more from another hospital.
Ran out of antivenom after using a whopping 36 vials. Holy fuck, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yikes.
they're fucking scary, man. I've had dogs bit. I had this one dog. He got bit twice.
Yeah.
It was a real problem. His face would swell up. I had to bring him to the vet. But luckily, they have antivenom for dogs. It works pretty well.
Yeah.
He was kind of out of it for a few days. Then he came back.
How fast the response?
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. It was funny because he got bit once. He was a crazy dog. He was always killing lizards. Like, that was his thing. Like, anything in the backyard he would kill.
Yeah.
And he got bit by the rattlesnake, and I knew it because I was out there. I heard him. I heard the commotion. I saw the snake. I knew what it was, so I got him to the veterinarian immediately. They got him his face swelled up, but they got him the antivenom, and he was good. And then he got bit again, like maybe a year later, and I brought him to the vet because I said I saw him get bit by a rattlesnake. And the vet was like, well, I don't see any swelling, and I don't see a hole. But he had developed of resistance to it because he had gotten bit once. And so then I got him home, and then all of a sudden, his face started swelling up. I'm like, fuck. And I bring him back to the vet. Then he had to get the antivenom.
But a good-sized dog.
He was about a 90-pound dog.
Yeah. And that was a Western Diamondback rattlesnake, I gather.
California, I don't know.
Oh, it was in California.
It was in California.
Oh, so
it wasn't out here.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
what did me then, probably. Southern Pacific rattlesnake. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we had a problem in my California house. One of the houses that I used to live in. There was a lot of it. It was very canyony.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff
Well,
back there.
that's
Bobcats.
That's the same snake that bit me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spooky, man. We were running once. We were running the trail, and in mid-stride, I realized that the log that I thought was across the road was a giant rattlesnake. It was fucking big, man. Like the biggest one I'd ever seen out in the wild, and the dogs didn't notice it. They ran right over it, and then I ran over it. I was like, oh, fuck, man. And then I'm trying to figure out what to do because I know we're going to have to come back this way when we go back up the hill, so I'm throwing rocks at it, trying to get it to run away.
Now, I've handled a lot of rattlesnakes in my life and cobras and other snakes, and to get bit that way is very unusual. Usually people are being jerks and idiots and drunk and handling a snake, and it bites them.
Where were you? Were you just walking?
I was hiking in the mountains in north of L.A. just a bit, and I was actually looking for snakes because I'm into snakes. And I didn't see the snake. The snake saw me first. And I was bushwhacking. I wasn't on a trail. I didn't see it, and it bit me on my foot.
So you have this lifetime experience with reptiles and snakes, and so you just decide you must have interacted with a lot of these really crazy people and just decided this is the next...
Yeah, it takes one to know one.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Next point of focus.
It's sort of where it all started, really.
Yeah. No, listen, I was... a closeted reptile guy living in New York City, hanging out with, Madonna, cool people in the 80s and 90s. I had a nightclub, and I had friends with lots of artists, Andy Warhol, and I never really talked about reptiles. Actually, Andy asked me, what am I going to do with my money? He interviewed me one time for Andy Warhol TV, and I said, I'm going to buy reptiles. And he actually said, I'm going to buy tortoises. He was like, tortoises. But I was pretty closeted, but I still kept them in New York. And, fast forward when I decided to try to do a film about it. I had been traveling all over the world to Madagascar and Sulawesi and different parts of South America, trying to study reptiles and especially turtles and tortoises that were very rare. I started filming people like, kind of notable people, Christopher Walken and, Slash and, I don't know, all kinds of people that I knew in New York City. And I would just ask them to hold a turtle or tortoise and say some words for like PSAs. And I was doing that with these two guys named the Safdie brothers. And fast forward, Josh has just had a film called Marty Supreme with Timothée Chalamet that was up for an Oscar. Little did I know that I was working with these kids that were going to be these new filmmakers, and we were making these films. And then we made a short film about reptiles that's crazy called Trophy Hunter. It's very short. And we did that together. And then I said to them, hey, man, you guys will read this new book called The Lizard King. It's about the reptile world. Let's do a doc about the reptile world. And I'd already told Fisher Stevens, a friend of mine, hey, let's do a doc about this, book, The Lizard King. And he said to me, how are you going to do that doc without getting killed, Eric? And, he'd won an Oscar for The Cove. And I thought, I'm going to get these good guys and do a doc about reptiles. So anyway, we started in 2000.
Why do you think you were going to get killed?
He read The Lizard King and he said, you're going to do a story about this guy that went to prison for 100 years and this other guy that, is the Pablo Escobar of reptiles. And he just said, it's a dark world. I don't know how you're going to do this without getting killed.
So what is about the lizard world or the reptile world that makes it so dark? Like, why are those people, do you think, attracted to it?
Well, not all of them are scary people. And I would say a lot of them may be misunderstood a little bit. But there's, in the case of Mario, there was a crossover with drugs, smuggling drugs and animals into the country.
Well, but for background, what is different than these other films that we've done? This was an industry story that kind of looks back at the past half century. What most people don't know is illegal wildlife trafficking represents about a $20 billion a year industry. It's kind of underreported, actually. Only after guns, drugs, and human trafficking. And what's really interesting about that is there's a convergence of all of it. Wildlife trafficking also involves drugs and trafficking
at times,
of guns. There's a lot of mixture of it.
Whenever people are bringing in things illegally, they tend to be a risk-taking type.
Of course, but in the kind of pre customs TSA days, when it's as intense as it is now, it's very easy to carry animals and carry wildlife.
Yeah, that was something I didn't even think about until I was watching. I was like, oh, God, I remember those days where they didn't check your bags and they didn't even check your ID.
Yeah.
You just had a ticket.
Yep.
And you just get on the plane. So you would just get on the plane with lizards.
Yeah. Now, in most
In a
cases,
suitcase.
you strapped to your body, right? The thing about what was so interesting about reptiles in this case within the trade is they're portable. They're nature with handles. You see in the early episode of episode 1, people traveling around the world, finding rare endangered animals, putting them in their suitcase and bringing them back, putting them on a price list and selling them to a consumer. And that was the kind of early days. I mean, the story, The Lizard King, but much, in our series, it's handful of guys, mainly guys, start a multi-billion-dollar industry. And you see this kind of innovation happen over the course of the series as the years go on.
Yeah. But when we say multi-billion, I have to kind of contextualize that. It's when people say that the wildlife trade is multi-billion-dollar industry, you got to remember a lot of it's consumption. The Asian population eats a lot of turtles, a lot of snakes. A lot of it's traditional medicine, a lot of it's skins.
Plant material.
Alligator skin bags, crocodile skin bags, lizard skin bags, snake skin bags. So it's a lot more than just the exotic pet industry. But that's gotten enormous in Asia. They took a page out of our playbook about 25 years ago. China is now a huge consumer of not just eating these reptiles, but keeping them as exotic pets. That didn't happen before 25, 30 years ago.
Interesting.
Asia.
Why does California have a ban on python skin? Pythons are not endangered, right?
Well, it depends on the type of python. But yeah, the python skinning business actually is where all the Burmese pythons came from in the 70s that I had as a kid. They would skin the pythons, take the eggs, incubate the eggs, sell the baby pythons to the United States and other consumer countries that wanted baby pythons. Most of the pythons that are skinned in Southeast Asia, and I've been to python skinning places in Sumatra, blood pythons, reticulated pythons, Burmese pythons, but mostly blood pythons, reticulated pythons are wild caught, and most of them are not endangered. But there are less and less pythons out there, but they're not endangered. those pythons.
Well, there's a shit ton in Florida. That's what I don't understand. I mean, there's this giant problem in Florida where they're overrun with pythons, and yet California, you can't sell python skins. It seems like there's a solution there. Like people want python skins.
Yeah.
Oh, look, a place
Yeah.
that's overrun with pythons. Maybe you should get your python skin there.
Yeah, the cooler python skins are not Burmese pythons, the ones in Florida. The cooler ones people like Nick Cage in, what was that film where he's wearing that python skin jacket? It's a reticulated python. That's
Wild at Heart.
Wild at Heart. That's gold and black. The cooler python skins just happen not to be Burmese pythons, which are the ones running rampant in Florida. Although they should make those trendy and use Burmese pythons. But they're not usually. You rarely see
There it
Burmese.
is.
There it is. Yeah.
That's a reticulated python. That's not a Burmese. So that's the one people want. That's from Southeast Asia. That's not the one running wild in Florida.
That's illegal in California right now? Then that jacket.
Is that right?
I believe so. I don't believe you can get it imported.
Yeah,
I think
let's try.
I had read something about python being one of the things that they made illegal. Why California bans python skin? Ban dates to 1970. Aimed at protecting endangered and vulnerable species, particularly the Indian python, which was on the endangered species list. California chose to prohibit all python products rather than distinguish by species, created an extraordinarily broad statute banning all python imports. Oh, that's interesting. I thought it was fairly recent.
Well, that's where the laws, I think, are really screwed up. When they basically say all pythons are bad to sell when the Indian rock python is endangered, and there are a few endangered pythons. But to say all pythons cannot be used for the skin trade and sold in California because of one python out of many pythons.
Welcome to California.
Yeah.
I happen to live there. I know what it's like. I love Austin, by the way. I might buy a house next to you now.
Austin rules, but California's just so overregulated with everything.
So
particularly wildlife.
And same thing in Florida, though, with the green iguana, Eric, right? I mean, at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing, household?
Regulation.
I mean, again, there's 40.
But people eat those.
There's 45 types of iguanas in the world.
Did
give
you
or
not know
take.
that?
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a whole YouTube community of people who hunt iguanas and cook them in exotic ways. They make iguana stir fry.
In South Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it looks good. I mean, I don't know anything about what it tastes like, but this guy made like a stir fry over rice, and they were eating it, and they're like, oh my God, this is sensational. Like teriyaki. It looked very good.
Everyone always says croc, alligator, iguana, rattlesnake tastes like chicken. But yeah, they eat the tail.
I mean, you can imagine I have a really messed up algorithm from being involved in this for so long, but that I never came across. But the frozen, when the temperatures
here's a guy.
drop. Yeah, there we go.
They use the legs. They cook the legs.
Yeah, in the back of the tail.
There's the tail.
Yeah.
So he's got it marinating, ziplocked it.
Yeah.
Then it looks like he's gonna.
Yeah.
Oh, look, he's got the whole thing.
Oh wow! Usually it's the back of the tail,
Yeah.
like crocodiles. You eat the back of the tail.
But it's far out. There's a.
Wow! Look at that. He's eating the whole thing.
Yeah.
In Mexico, I always see them make iguana tamales out of the back part of the iguana.
So he put it in a Kamado,
Oh wow! Damn.
and he's got a little sauce he's making here with some butter and spices, basting it. Yeah. I mean, why not? If it tastes good, and apparently it does taste good, according to all these guys that I've seen on YouTube channels. Like, they are pretty honest about it. Like, they bring it to their family. They let their family try it.
Yeah.
I think, that might be the only way out, because they're everywhere in Florida. Like, when it gets cold out, they fall out of trees.
They fall out of trees. I love the news reports.
They're fucking big, too, man.
Yeah, they're massive.
There's some channels where these guys hunt them, and some of them are like 4.5, 5 feet long. This episode is brought to you by OnX Off-Road. Ever wonder how to reach these epic mountain lakes? They're tucked away, dispersed campsites. With OnX Off-Road, you'll find legal open trails around you and even better, guided trails mapped by real off-roaders. Each one includes photos, terrain descriptions, and difficulty ratings, so you'll know if your vehicle's capable before you go. Unlike other apps, OnX gives you turn-by-turn directions on the trail, and their new dispersed camping layer shows where you can legally set up camp. You'll also get private land boundaries, public land overlays, and the ability to download maps for offline use so that you're never guessing, even when you're off the grid. It's a powerful tool built for serious off-roaders. Try OnX Off-Road for 50% off. Go to onxmaps.com/Joe Rogan. It's crazy.
The males get crazy, and they get very orange and really big, the male iguanas.
They're so beautiful.
Yeah,
They're such a cool looking lizard, man.
There's a lot of really cool iguanas, and in our show, we feature what's called a Fiji Island iguana, a very endangered iguana that unfortunately people in the private sector in this country cannot own. Zoos can own them. I don't know why private people can't own them, but the San Diego Zoo and this zoo and that zoo can have Fiji Island iguanas. But in our show, they literally, this one guy says, it's reptile magic. It's like reptile art, a Fiji Island iguana. You might want to put it up there. It's really
just
beautiful.
the beauty of it?
Just the sheer beauty.
Wow.
The sheer beauty. It's like
Yellow lemon highlights.
turquoise
Yeah.
and green, and
It's cool
it's
looking.
a very endangered iguana.
So the Florida iguana problem, was that all people's pets that got released?
Probably.
All of it.
Well, listen. Also, what's again going back to the show, but the central figure of the book is this guy named Mike Van Nostrum and his dad Ray Van Nostrand. They run an enterprise called Strictly Reptiles in Hollywood, right? It's in Hollywood.
Hollywood, Florida.
Hollywood, Florida. Yeah, and they're sort of this I would call it like more of a fulfillment center for wildlife all across America.
Fulfillment center.
They are. I mean, in many way, they're this.
So like it's an Amazon, what you can just
Amazon
like
warehouse.
click, I want a tortoise.
Yeah.
They were selling 5,000 iguanas a week.
Well,
green
it
baby
got
iguanas.
to that point. So the story goes: Dad moves to Florida, starts a business, evolves. Jurassic Park comes out. Everyone wanted a pet dinosaur. The green iguana market went on fire. He was selling 5,000 a week, and I was a '90s kid. I had an iguana in my my bedroom.
Jeremy's a virgin, but he did have an iguana.
I had a pet iguana
to reptiles.
that unfortunately passed away. The rock thing, the heated rock, that happens. But yeah, no, there's sort of so the story's
heated
filled.
rock thing?
No, you have this like rock thing where it sits on and
Keeps it warm?
Keeps it warm, and then I think it kept on too long. I think
He cooked his iguana.
my iguana.
Oh.
Yeah, sadly.
Cooked his iguana.
Yikes.
But I've learned a lot.
Yeah. But
But filled with these unintended consequences. I think this idea of a big movie coming out, the correlation to driving demand for pet sales.
Thank God people can't buy a fucking velociraptor.
Well,
Because people would have them. They'd have fences set up in their yard.
Joe, you've had the Colossus people on this show, I think.
Oh, yeah.
They want to bring back one of those and a woolly mammoth.
Well, there's no chance that they can bring, with current technology.
I know.
They don't have dinosaur DNA. It's too old.
I'm joking.
But I met the dire wolves.
I know.
It's wild.
Yeah.
They brought back
it's
the
not
dire
really
wolf.
a dire wolf.
What does that mean?
I mean,
If you talk to geneticists, what is it? It is a
Listen,
bunch of different traits.
Don't go down that rabbit hole.
all right.
It's close to a dire wolf.
I mean, I don't know what that means because we decide what a dire wolf
Yeah,
is
sure.
and what a dire wolf isn't. But if you take literal dire wolf DNA that's 7,000 years old and you add it to these gray wolves, and this is what they did, and they created essentially a dire wolf.
Yeah.
It's like people are arguing over semantics. Whatever it is, that's not a wolf. It's very different. It looks different than a regular wolf, like a gray wolf. The stature is different. It has a mane. It's really crazy looking. They're white.
Yeah.
They're stockier. They're built differently. Like you see it, like, oh, that's different.
Yeah. Well, like maned wolves in Argentina look very different than our wolves. So they're very different types of canines. Wild dogs in Africa look very different. Than our. So yeah, but yeah. I mean, one thing I'd just say about iguanas, just since we were on it, is that because I'm on an organization called the International Iguana Foundation, and we protect iguanas around the world, and people get confused. They think, oh, iguana, that's so common. They're falling out of trees in Florida. But there are a lot of really rare, cool iguanas. There's about 45 species, and there's pink iguanas in the Galapagos Islands, land iguanas, there's marine iguanas.
Pink.
There's a very rare, high-elevation pink iguana. There's another land iguana in the Galapagos. There's a marine iguana. But that lizard was fairly recently discovered. And there's some iguanas that were thought to be extinct, Joe, like the Jamaican iguana. And that was thought to be extinct forever, the Jamaican iguana. But they found a tiny population recently. So there's a lot of iguanas that are in trouble. And, we should care about iguanas, and they're not just green iguanas. Yeah, the pink iguana, that's a marine iguana and a regular Galapagos land iguana, and then you see some of the pink form.
Jamie, see if you can find a video on Florida people hunting iguanas. Florida people hunting giant iguanas, because some of them are so big. You see them, you're like, oh my God. Are those bad to eat though? The big giant ones? Would you eat one? Being like a reptile pet guy?
I've
Look at
never.
the size of that one.
Yeah, that's a male. That's a male.
That's
when
crazy.
When they get orange like that, yeah, that's a big male.
I mean, these things are gigantic.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Now that's a common green iguana, and the males lose their green and get that incredible yellow orange. Those are males. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy how many of them there are, though?
Yeah.
I mean, it is just overrun with iguanas.
Yeah.
I guess they have no natural predators, right? There's nothing that eats them there.
Not once they get big like that. When they're little, some birds of prey and some snakes can eat baby iguanas, but not once they're like that.
But they're pretty chill. I mean, they don't really do much harm.
Well, don't they, though, to people's crops and people's houses?
No, they do. They do damage. They're not supposed to be in Florida. Let's put it that way. Iguanas like water. Typically, they like to be around water. The green iguanas. But reptiles have a bad PR problem, and that's why we're here, Joe. We're trying to elevate the publicity of people loving reptiles and not killing them.
This dude is all out there killing them. Who's this? Who's this dude? Top shelf anglers on Instagram. And he's
Oh,
just,
you can do an expedition. it
Oh,
sounds
so
like,
he's
yeah.
just a Florida guy that's enjoying the great
selling
outdoors
excursions.
and also.
No, that now is a different. That's called a Tenosaurus. That's a type of Central American Mexican rock iguana. That lizard. That's not a green iguana.
So Florida has a variety.
Yeah, they have those as well, and they have tegus in Florida that come
Yeah,
from
those
South
are cool.
America. A different type of lizard that's invasive in Florida.
And all of it is pets.
Yeah, people letting them.
I had no idea that many people had iguanas. That it could be this big of a problem.
Yeah, pet iguanas were everywhere at one time. Yeah,
And is this
that's
really?
that's the tegu.
Whoa.
That's also invasive in Florida.
That's crazy
Yeah.
looking.
Yeah, I used to sleep with one of those when I was a teenager.
That looks like
That's
a snake with legs.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, their face, right? It totally looks like
And
a
that
snake.
lizard really loves to eat eggs. I used to feed mine eggs, and I've seen them in the wild eating eggs, bird eggs, duck eggs.
When I lived in the valley, there was a reptile store. And it was a place where I used to go buy goldfish because I used to have piranhas. And
Oh, wow.
I used to have turtles, too.
Yeah.
And the turtles were way more vicious than the piranhas. Those aquatic. When you put goldfish in with the turtles,
Yeah, sure.
they're crazy, man. And they grab a hold of them and they're biting them. It's like very Jurassic Park. Like you're watching a little
alligator
dinosaur.
snapping turtle.
Yeah. Well, these are just little, little green
Sliders.
sliders.
Yeah.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
But they had a crocodile monitor in that place. And
Ooh.
I briefly thought, like, maybe I could figure out an enclosure and put a crocodile monitor, feed it rabbits and shit.
Don't get bit by a crocodile monitor. They're close to like a Komodo dragon bite. They have scalpel teeth. They're serious getting bit by a crocodile monitor.
It looked pretty vicious. They just look like dinosaurs. It's like a forgotten thing of the past. There it is.
Yeah.
There's a crocodile monitor. Look at that face, man. It totally looks like a dinosaur.
Well, there's Tommy, who's
Yeah, that's the guy
Tommy
in
who's
the
in our,
first
Yeah.
episode,
who's the-
feeding it,
one of the
chicken.
Yeah.
Oh, Tommy. They're the weirdest fucking people. Because I kind of understand the chimp people more. Because the chimp people, like a chimp is interacting with you. It's a mammal. It's a primate. It's
Yeah.
intelligent. There's a lot going on. There's emotions and jealousy, and chimps, they're connecting with you. These things, you're just looking into the abyss.
Until the chimp rips your head off.
Yeah, well, I'm not advocating for people to have chimps as pets. I just say I understand the appeal of
Yeah.
a pet chimp. I think it's a crazy idea. And
Well,
a terrible
especially a
idea.
baby chimp.
I think if anybody's even remotely thinking about it, they should watch Chimp Crazy.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, especially the babies, they're so cute, and then they eventually get to the point where they kill your neighbor. But it's just you don't want, I just get the appeal of it. The appeal of the reptile thing to me is just very strange. Like these people love them.
Well, I loved I used to keep snakes and lizards, but they were my gateway drug. And then I ultimately got into tortoises because I like the tortoises coexisting in the garden. I like plants, I like gardens. And so
That makes sense.
it didn't feel like they were in a cage, and they kind of, maybe I'm anthropomorphizing my tortoises, but I kind of felt like they were having a pretty good life in my garden. So
For sure.
So I like keeping tortoises. They don't, want to eat a rabbit particularly. They want to eat some lettuce or some greens. So turtles and tortoises was what I gravitated to. And then I found out one day they're the most endangered group of animals on the planet, along with primates, if you measure it by how many turtles and tortoises there are in the world and how many are facing extinction, along with primates. So then I was like, okay, I want to do something to help them. And this show we're doing is really to teach people about the evolution of the reptile trade and to make people realize they're cool and they shouldn't be disposable pets. And
Also, freak show.
and freak show, of course.
You guys are really good at freak shows.
As I said, it takes one to know one.
But
of
it's
course.
not. But what's different? What's different though is that this isn't some like side hustle for animal love gone wrong. There's these people. There's the reptile people, the herp people are incredibly obsessive about living art, about these living things. They like it's like a baseball card, like the
What was that
scarcity.
word you used? The herp people?
Yeah, I call it herpetology.
Herp people, herpetology, amphibians and reptiles.
Yeah, sorry, well,
You're
coded,
you're
little
deep in-
coded.
The
I'm deep in it.
herpy people. John. The
Herpy people.
John.
No, but it's it's really a trade formed around scarcity, and this sort of desire and adventure people have going out to find the rarest of the rare, and bringing it back and selling it, trading it, keeping it.
I'm in that category.
You are in that category.
I'm in that category.
But-
I'm not the guy that just wants the little pet bearded dragon. I want the Rolls Royce of reptiles.
But it's different than like, an individual person that has an attachment to a chimpanzee that she saw with, watching Tarzan when she was growing up, and she wanted to have that in her life.
So in other words, freaky people. Like you
Freaky
just said.
people,
Yeah, freak show.
extreme obsessions, but it's about kind of psychology of people in this particular very niche way.
Well, any time you're dealing with extreme animal people, it's about the psychology of the human
Yeah.
being that's really invested in it, right?
Yeah. Best in show.
Yeah.
For sure.
And these are very unusual people because it's a very unusual thing to be connected to, something that really doesn't give a fuck about you. Like, we're really concerned about this pink iguana. That pink iguana doesn't give a fuck about people. If all the people on Earth died, it would just keep going about its business and not shed a tear.
Yeah.
Well, especially things that can kill you in this way, like a taipan or whatever. Someone playing with that.
An inland taipan is a venomous snake from Australia that may be the most venomous snake in the world. But it's all relative because a black
course it's in
mamba,
Australia.
Australia has a lot of venomous stuff.
Yeah.
Spiders, box jellyfish, a lot of snakes that are very dangerous. Australian tiger snake, brown snake, inland taipan, they're all things that equally can kill you. So to say one's more dangerous than the other, they all kill you.
Is there anti-venom for all of them?
No, actually. So it's a good question. So some snakes, like, Texas has a coral snake, for example, a very venomous, elapid type of snake, like a cobra, not like a rattlesnake. And I think they have less and less antivenom for snakes that rarely bite people because, like sea snakes, the coral snake, which is the red, black, and yellow one that you have in East Texas, when the dog gets bit by them, you were talking about your dog getting bit by rattlesnakes, a lot of time the vet doesn't know because you can't even see the bite. The snake bite is so tiny. So some snakes do not have antivenom, some really dangerous snakes.
The coral snakes, they don't have anti-venom for them?
I think I heard that maybe not anymore. I'm sure it's faded.
So what happens if you get bit?
Well, there may be some antivenom, but there's not a lot of it. Antivenom has gotten very expensive and it's very sophisticated now, and it's mostly for, in the U.S. for vipers, for rattlesnakes, But I don't know. Good question. That would be something someone smarter than me would know about coral snake antivenom. But it's an elapid like a cobra.
A friend of mine had 2 of them in her carport.
Yeah.
They took pictures of it and sent it to people, and everyone's like, "Yeah, keep away from that." Just chilling in her carport.
Yeah.
But they're generally not aggressive. Is that the deal?
Yeah, there's a saying, and it doesn't fit all because there's coral snakes that don't have this. But yellow against black is a friend of Jack. Yellow and black against red is. Anyway, I can't even say
You
it
wind
right
up
now.
dead or
Yeah, you
something?
wind
Yeah,
up dead. But I'm getting it wrong. But there's a saying, and it doesn't hold true for all coral snakes because there's some coral snakes outside of the U.S. that don't have that same pattern.
So if there's no anti-venom and they take you to the hospital, what do they do?
They stopped making the.
I mean, there's some.
They stop making it.
It was cost
Is that what it says?
ineffective.
I think that's what I heard.
Cost ineffective.
No longer
Just
cost
let people die.
Cost effective is a crazy thing to say when it comes to fucking keeping people alive.
Wow, I was right for a change.
Capitalist cunts. Maybe the socialists are right.
That was made by.
Cost effective is crazy. So what did they do?
I heard every rattlesnake joke after I got bit, and there's one these 3 guys are out hiking, and someone gets bit here, And they go to the doctor, and the guy says, you got to go back and suck it out of him. And the guy just says to him, you're going to die. So maybe you die with a coral snake.
Yeah.
Just leave you die.
The thing we recently were looking at the way of treating rattlesnake bites. Not too long ago, by the way, they sell these Johnson & Johnson. You sell these kits where you used to have one, right? You'd actually literally slice out and you'd suck out the venom out of your bite.
Does it actually work?
No.
That was what's incredible about it.
When we were young, they had these little rattlesnake kits. I'm a little older than you, but it was insane what they told people to do back then. They told you to cut yourself and then put a tourniquet and then suck the venom out, which is completely insane because when a rattlesnake strikes, they never hold on, a rattlesnake. They strike and let go immediately, and then they track their prey. And it's literally like a hypodermic needle going into your body, and the venom is already, just like when they inject you with something, it's already in you. You can't suck whatever a doctor
So what
puts.
should you do if you get bit by a rattlesnake?
Be mellow. In my case, I walked to my car. Luckily, I wasn't too far away from my car, and I was up in the mountains about an hour away from a hospital. I drove like a bat out of hell to the hospital, actually. But you're supposed to be calm and get to a
That's the
hospital.
kit?
Incredible, yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah,
and it was just bullshit, huh?
Well, everything.
Imagine taking that into the woods, you're like, we're fine.
Yeah, everything
we
you
got it.
shouldn't.
We got
Everything
the
you
kit.
shouldn't do today. Everything you shouldn't.
And so you just stay mellow and get to the hospital. And if they don't have any anti-venom, you just die?
Well, in my case, they didn't have it in the hospital. They had to see Highway Patrol to bring it from Ventura, and it took about 45 minutes, and I thought I was going to die on the gurney. But yeah, you get to a hospital and you get antivenom if it's a bad bite.
And if they don't have anti-venom, you die.
Well, it depends on the kind of snake. Like water moccasins usually aren't lethal, but certain rattlesnakes can kill you.
And how much time do you have from the time you get bit where you must get the antivenom in you?
I mean, in my case, I swear to God, I thought I was going to stop breathing about 2 hours into it. It just slowly feels like this pressure on your chest.
Like you can't breathe.
Yeah, it felt like somebody put sandbags all over me, and like you have this pressure, and you feel like you're going to stop breathing. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of bizarre.
Who's that guy, Ross Allen?
Yeah.
He has the world record for the most. Is it cobra bites?
No, I think you're talking about a serpentarium.
That same guy?
Bill Haas.
Bill Haas.
He
Yeah.
lived to like 100, and I know people that inject themselves with venom. I was in Myanmar and Burma one time, and this guy had snake tattoos all over him, and he was a snake wrangler at this zoo in central Burma. And every tattoo he had put on his body, he had put some venom in it so he could handle these really dangerous kraits, which are like cobras. And he was this guy with all these snake tattoos, but he had envenomated himself so he would have antibodies so he could handle these snakes. And if he got bit, he wouldn't die.
But early roadside attractions in that's the part about Florida. It goes back. It's in the 50s and 60s. It had, Miami Serpentarium was an amazing looking place. Had this giant cobra. It was sculpture basically. Right?
Here's a question. If they do that with allergies, where they give you like a little bit of the allergen, you develop a resistance to it, could they do that with snakes?
That's the
like if
idea.
you live in a snake-prone area, should you do that?
No, but that's the idea.
Why wouldn't you do that?
There's a guy right now in the U.S. that's doing it. I think they're doing a film about him injecting all these venomous snake venoms into him like a pincushion. But no, I don't think people should do it, but people do it. Not a lot of people. But this guy
if
did
it does
it.
build up your antibodies and you know that you're going to come in contact with snakes,
Listen,
wouldn't that be, is it bad for you to do?
Look, the country that I think has the most deadly snake bites is probably India, the country where there's the most deaths and envenomation. The snake that probably kills more people in the world is a puff adder in Africa, but it's many countries. But I think India has the highest. U.S., it's pretty low chance you're going to get killed by a snake. You're going to get killed driving your car or shooting someone with your gun. It's highly unlikely. The odds are very low that you're going to die from a snake bite, no matter where you live in the
I
country.
understand that.
You
That's all
understand
well
that.
and good, but
Yeah.
that doesn't comfort you if you get bit by a snake. Like, oh, what are the odds?
Seek medical
Yeah, you have
attention
to
or
deal
talk
with
to
it.
him, or buy one of those kits.
I think most people live, Joe. I think
Most
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few people that died this year in California, but typically it's like only a few people a year die in the country from snake bites.
And is it generally because they just don't get to medical treatment in time?
Or they're older, or or they get bit 3 times. Like not just once by the rattlesnake. You get more venom in them.
Is it true that the young ones give you more venom than the old ones?
We were
No,
just talking about that.
young young ones have a more condensed, more dangerous venom, but big snakes are much more dangerous because they can put far more venom into you.
50
The little
times
ones
more.
have a more potent venom, but they can't inject as much into you. So that's kind of people misunderstand that stat. Yeah.
Okay.
Not that I'm a snake expert. I'm more of a turtle expert, and I'm more of a freak expert. So I'm good at finding these crazy people to cover.
Do you get uncomfortable being around these people?
That's a good question.
Because there's a psychological aspect to particularly like Chimp Crazy. There's something about those people that makes me uneasy watching it on TV. Like, you're so far gone. Like, some of these people are so far gone in terms of like just being a normal, present, rational person.
There's a courtship, and sometimes that courtship takes years to get someone willing to be interviewed. It's generally, the reptile world can be very guarded. People that have them don't want the feds coming and taking their rare reptiles. They don't want animal rights groups, PETA, coming and busting them. They don't want people coming because they're very valuable. Some reptiles are worth a lot of money. So they're very guarded, and to get access to a lot of these people took a lot of time at times. And sometimes that relationship would go up and down, and there were times when people that I was interviewing really did not like me. There was something that happened, and then I would have to go there, and I'd be nervous because that person may have been someone who did a lot of time in prison and did some heavy things in his life. So yeah, there are times when you're just kind of like, you know, is this the time I'm going to go there and he's going to really fuck me up?
Why didn't they like you?
You know, man, you know, like, listen, I like this guy. He's done what he's done in the past. He was sentenced to 100 years in prison. He got out for whatever reason. But that guy,
Wait a minute. Why did he go to jail for 100 years?
Well, Mario Tabrawi was sentenced to 100 plus years in prison. He got out early because he must have had some serious information.
What was the crime?
Murder and drugs.
And he got out early because he said he had information?
He must have. He did 12 years, and no one knows why.
What?
Yeah.
He only did 12 years for murder and drugs?
But I like him.
Oh, well, great.
I wasn't the one murdered. I wasn't in his life back then. But he's kind of he really actually does love animals, I mean, in his way. And I was nervous sometimes going to his place a few times.
But why was he mad at you?
Oh, fuck. Do you remember all the times he was mad at me? He's probably mad at me right now as I'm speaking.
Yeah.
I definitely will be after the show, probably.
Yeah. Well, this is the next episode. There's an entire episode that talks about kind of the 80s in Miami and the sort of overlap between the drug trade and the illegal wildlife trade and the reptile trade. And he's a central character in it.
The 80s in Miami.
Now, he's kind of more tangential because it's really about this guy, Ray Van Nostrand, guy from New Jersey, moved down to Florida, started a business that became strictly reptiles, as I was referencing. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there was anything like particular, but he would get very particular about very specific things. Like if you could be right about a million things that he hated, but wrong about one thing that he cared about the most, and he would categorize you to be this person that is, you know.
There's an expression, honor among thieves, and he weirdly has this kind of honorable side.
Unredeemable, yeah.
And certain things I would say to him would make him really upset. But I have to say, the only time I was ever shot at in my life was in fucking Miami. I was shot at, you know, going to a payphone in the early 90s in a van trying to go to a nightclub with a bunch of people, and these guys were walking towards me, and they started just blowing out the windows of the van. I remember I didn't go to the nightclub. I went back to my hotel, and I woke up in the morning with that chopped, car glass all in my hair. I had long hair back then. I had hair back then. But Miami was, it was pretty wild in the 80s and early 90s.
I have a good friend of mine. My friend Steve did his residency. He's an ophthalmologist. Did his residency in Miami in the 80s. And worked in emergency rooms. And he said it was fucking insane. It's just like so many gunshot wounds, so many drug deals gone bad, so many heists. He said it was like an insane place to work.
It's funny you say that, because I said to all my characters, I said, what's it like, having been in and out of prison so many times? And he goes, bro, everyone in Florida has been in prison. And I was kind of like, well, what's it like, But everyone in Florida's been in prison.
Sunny place with shady people, right?
Have you seen Cocaine Cowboys?
Yeah.
Phenomenal, right? And that story where you find out that the entire graduating class of the police academy either wound up murdered or in jail for corruption.
Yeah. Have you seen Bad Lieutenant?
Yes.
I'm friends with Harvey.
Oh, really?
He's good in it, man.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a great movie.
But there's parts of this story that are a little like Bad Lieutenant. You'll see in the end, you know.
Well, what you'll like about this second episode, about this period, it's from the point of view of this young, at the time, you know, coming right out of college, young DEA agent on the beat, chasing bad guys. And he was assigned this guy, Mario Tabraue. The case that was a cold case, no one could ever touch him, and you see him kind of chase after him and, you know, understand the whole weaving of this story. But it's a really, you know, being around that guy was, you know, talk about the subjects in this animal world, you know, law enforcement.
This guy sleeps with a gun every night and gets literally orgasmic with the thought of this guy coming to his house.
There's like a hideaway.
The guy that he
know.
put in prison for 100 years that got out. He literally waits, and you'll see a line in the show that it's kind of unbelievable what he says about that.
Yeah, but just, you know, he lives in this kind of, we went to go see him. He lives in this kind of very kind of, you know, country part of West Virginia. And
he's good with guns.
And he would just, you know, he would brag about all the you know, the bullets you can find from this, you know, left over from the Civil War in his backyard. Yeah. And, you know, he was very, very good with a gun. We did a lot of shooting verite with him. And he was just a really, at the time, very generous with his time, wanting to tell his story. But, you know, clearly killed a lot of people and would make some very soft references to that would be very unnerving, you know, like, yeah, you're really great with it. I've never shot a gun. I don't have anything against it, but I've never shot a gun. And I would talk to him about it. I'm interested in it. And he'd be like, yeah, I've had to use it a lot, you know, more than I'd like to admit. So, you know, you're in these places. It's.
But what's so peculiar about this guy, his name's Larry Lovelace. He was a DEA agent in Florida back in those days. He put this guy in prison, this guy was bringing a lot of drugs from, you know, he was Cuban, and you'll see it in episode 2, but he really just doesn't understand how the guy got out of prison. And the fact that the very guy that put him in prison wouldn't know that they, like whoever the powers that be that got him out of prison after 12 years, you would think he would know, you know, but he's still to this day worried about retaliation.
So this was, what's cool is that his dad was actually the person, he was like an HR person for kind of the Cuban, it was at the time of the Cuban Bay of Pigs, you know, invasion, that kind of era. And he was responsible for taking care of all these kind of Cuban exiles during that time. And he was being the one that was going house to house and giving people checks. So he had this kind of very interesting network of people and had this incredible access. And so what was been insinuated is that, you know, his dad had these relationships and knew where everyone was and knew all these people and had information that was useful to the government at the time. That's the idea. Gave information, no surprise.
Or he helped bring down the real Pablo Escobar, or he knew a big drug lord that the government wanted and they made a deal. Who knows? But it could have been, there's lots of theories.
Quite an injustice, though. Like even this guy, you know, we filmed 200 people over how long? 15 years. Really, the last 6 was more intense.
More than 200 people.
And you never get everybody in. Yeah. And I remember meeting this guy, Tony Biscaro. Remember him? Yeah. This guy was part of. He flew planes for drugs. You know, he got busted with like I think 600,000 pounds of weed at the time. He served the single largest sentence for a marijuana smuggling crime, 40 years. 40 years. Got out maybe 5 years ago. Yeah. And could you imagine coming out of prison for the longest sentence and then going to Miami and you see weed stores everywhere? You know what I mean? Your fucking life's over and you see these weed stores. It's like insane to me.
That's fucked up.
But that was at a time, look, Pablo Escobar, like there were people around Pablo Escobar that got indicted that were trafficking ivory horns and stuff. Like it was very, there 1 degree of separation for like wildlife crime and drugs in that era.
Why do you think there's that connection?
Easy. Concealment.
I mean, look, I don't want to exaggerate. I think there's been connections, like you can put cocaine inside of a boa constrictor. Who's going to open a box at Customs or, Fish and Wildlife Service and look inside the boa constrictor? So there's some pretty ingenious ways to
Meaning
bring
you
in,
put it in their stomach?
yeah, like you either force feed the boa constrictor, like you put them in those balloons, you put cocaine in, or you even
And then you have to cut them open to get your cocaine
yeah,
out?
you cut them open and get your cocaine.
But
You know.
even more.
I remember in New York when the fish markets used to put
You speak
drugs.
so casually about that, by the way.
But fish markets used to put the drugs in fish in the fish markets
liquid
in New York.
cocaine, yeah.
Yeah, because no one wants to handle the fish and open up the fish, and they'd shove all the drugs into the fish. So, like smelly, dangerous animals are good cover for drugs.
Or even more
used to
simply,
be.
trafficking wildlife. There was a legal version of that. So what they would do is take the crates and they'd pack them and they'd put the drugs at the bottom and they'd put, another layer of animals and they'd mix in some, look-alike animals that were really rare but looked like the common animal. So they'd mix them together and then they put something like, spitting cobras up the top. And no one was reaching into the crate when there was these like very dangerous animals.
Many
So that's how they kind of got they were able to prey on the lack of resources at these kind of major ports of entry and realize that Fish and Wildlife didn't really have any resources at the time. Yeah. They had limited wildlife inspectors. They had to go through these, volumes of crates, and they play these games.
Many Komodo dragons that made it into this country came in illegally in a crate, and they would just put a little Komodo dragon in with some other monitor lizards, and the inspectors couldn't tell the difference. And they'd go through, and the Komodo dragon that bit Sharon Stone's husband at the Los Angeles Zoo is one of those Komodo dragons.
So it was somebody's private collection and then they got released to the zoo?
No, it was in a sting that's in our show where they were bringing in illegal animals coming from a guy in Malaysia who's sort of the Pablo Escobar, the kingpin globally of all the reptile animal trade, a guy that we finally accessed after COVID, who his name is Anson Wong, and he was sort of the bad guy number one in the world for reptile and animal smuggling. And so he was sending
by Interpol and all,
Well, he did the longest sentence in the U.S. for wildlife crime ever at the time in the 90s. He was busted in Mexico, and then extradited into the U.S. But he was bringing in Komodo dragons and really rare reptiles, and the zoos were the beneficiary of those reptiles once they were confiscated. So the L.A. Zoo, San Diego Zoo, Bronx Zoo, a lot of these animals came from reptile smugglers.
Wow.
Very much the origins of collections.
Yeah.
For zoos.
And I would also imagine that the kind of people that are really into reptiles probably also do drugs. So they probably know a lot of people in that world.
Yeah, it's like a cross-section of
You're into
our
death metal, you got a python.
So there's a lot of inked guys. There's a lot of goth guys into hot snakes, which are the venomous. A lot of bikers.
Hot snakes.
Hot snakes means
That's what they call them?
hot snakes.
It means the kind that can kill you.
Yeah, they're called hot snakes.
Interesting.
But yeah, a lot of badass guys, and there was definitely drugs. Listen, I did drugs in my life. So
No way.
Yes.
Come on. I'll go on.
I've done everything. I had nightclubs in New York City for many years, Joe. Yeah, I'm like, embalmed. It's made me live longer.
Maybe that's what saved you when you got bit by the rattlesnake.
Probably.
But you got to think that the type of people that are going to be even interested in having a snake as a pet, that's a very unusual person.
I like snakes.
Yeah, I don't know.
Come on, you know people that have snakes. Kids have
No, I
ball
don't.
pythons. You've got kids. They like a ball python. They're clean. You don't have to feed it every day like a rabbit or a dog. You can go on vacation, leave your ball python. They're a good pet. A lot of snakes.
I don't think of them as a pet. I think of them as a monster that you feed that allows you, it's not big enough to eat you, so it just allows you to feed it. And then you have to keep it in this box, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, well that's why I like tortoises. You don't have to keep them in a cage or a box.
Because does a snake, do they experience discomfort because they're in a terrarium?
Listen, there's a lot of myth out there that, snakes can live in a little teeny sweater box or a shoe box, and you can put them in racks like you see in snake stores and snake
Like
breeders.
a rack of shoes.
The truth is, real
store.
snakes in the wild do not live in little boxes. They may go in the underground at a certain time of year and hibernate. But they come out and they hang out like us and they move around. And most snakes do not live in a little teeny box. But yes, they can survive in a box. But there's all different kinds of snakes. There's racer snakes and indigo snakes and snakes that need to move fast and go places. And then there's some snakes like a ball python that can be in a more confined space, but you can't generalize.
But generally, like when people keep them as pets, they keep them in some kind of an aquarium, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they should give them more space. They should absolutely give them more space. I mean, part of what we're trying to do in this show is try to tell people, be responsible. Don't treat reptiles like disposable pets, like a toy that you break one week and then you buy another one, and you break it and the parents buy another one. You know, they're living creatures. The death toll when you import these animals is amazing. I mean, so much mortality. And we don't talk about mortality, whether it's zoos or people bringing in these reptiles, or even myself over the years. You asked me what happened to that snake. It probably died. It probably was flushed down a toilet by someone's mom. You know, like baby green turtles that you had as a kid. Like, what happened to most of those?
How long do snakes live? Like, how long does a python live? This episode is brought to you by Visible. It's officially summer, folks, and boy, what a summer we are having. It feels like one of those good old-fashioned summers where you just want to enjoy every moment and keep up with the action. Your best companion this summer? Visible Wireless. Visible gives you unlimited 5G data and unlimited hotspot powered by Verizon for just $25 a month. So you can make this the summer of fun and savings. Visible is more than just a wireless plan. It's unlimited wireless designed to always keep you connected with no contract to tie you down. Switch today at Visible.com. Plans start at $25 a month, or get our premium Visible Plus Pro plan and save $10 on your first month when you use promo code Rogan. Terms apply. See Visible.com for plan features and network management details.
So the longest lived terrestrial animal on the planet is a giant tortoise. They can live almost 200 years. I have
Right.
tortoises that are over 100 years old.
But what about snakes?
Snakes generally, most snakes don't live more than 30 to 40 years, but there are a few that might. Lizards can live 70 years. Some of the big land iguanas can live a long time.
Those like ones in Florida? They can live 70 years?
I don't know about green iguanas, but there are some that can live 50 to 70 years. Some of the big lizards. Tortoises live the longest. Some crocodilians can live a really long time. Snakes live the least, the lesser time compared to most of the other reptiles.
That was another thing they found in Florida, in the Everglades. They found Nile crocodiles. And they think that they might have a breeding population. There's some suspicion, but it's basically from people having them as pets.
Yeah, those are gnarly.
I've swam with Nile crocodiles. That's no joke.
Why'd you do that?
I was in Madagascar. They have a form of Nile crocodile in Madagascar. They don't get quite as big as the mainland crocs, and I was looking for turtles, and then I saw the croc. Nile crocodiles, and as you know, saltwater crocodiles are the two crocs that really kill the most people. You know, people come and wash their clothing next to the shore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the croc comes up and grabs them. You know, you really got to watch it with Nile crocodiles. So if they're in Florida, they're much bigger than American crocodiles.
Yeah, they have a shoot-on-site order for them, or they did at least in this article that I was reading. It's from a while back.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, they found a couple of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know they've captured at least 2 of them.
Well, the biggest reptile in the world in terms of weight, back to our size conversation, is a saltwater crocodile, and it's neck and neck with a leatherback sea turtle. They're both over 2,000 pounds. So you imagine a 2,000
Wow,
pound.
leatherback sea turtle is that big?
Yeah, yeah.
I had no idea. That's crazy. I would have never imagined that a sea turtle would have the same body weight as a saltwater crocodile.
They're neck and neck, over 2,000 pounds, both of them. That's a big turtle.
Well, I know that there's legend, right, about Congo crocodiles, and that there's crocodiles that people had supposedly seen, you know, back in the early 1900s and the 1800s that they thought were 40 feet long. Yeah. And the thing about crocodiles is I don't think they die of old age. I think they just stay alive until they die.
I want to be a crocodile.
And they keep getting bigger. That's the other thing. Like, depending upon their food source and how much. I think in captivity they wind up dying, but I think there's some thoughts as to why that happens. You know, how they're actually eating, whether they're getting fed. What's the difference between the way they live in the wild? But there's some accounts from back in the day where these guys were on a boat and the crocodile was bigger than the boat they were on.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about crocodilians, and I think there's about 27 different types, but once they get to a certain size, they're vulnerable when they're little, right? Like birds and fish and things can kill them and eat them. But once they get a certain size, like you're saying, they're pretty much invincible. Nothing can kill them,
And some of them develop a taste for people.
Yeah, just movement in the water and just because they're an ambush predator, right?
Yeah, well, they hunt people.
And they probably hunt people.
My friend Jim Shockey, he got hired to go to Africa. I forget what country it was, but he got hired to kill these crocodiles because they were preying on people. And while he was there, someone got snatched up while he was in camp. He said everybody there had like missing a leg, bite taken out of their calf. Everybody was all fucked up.
I was good friends with Peter Beard, and he would go to Kenya and Ethiopia and cull crocodiles. And there's a really incredible photo of him inside a crocodile that they killed, and he's like writing in his journal, but half his body is in a huge Nile crocodile. But he would go and cull them for probably similar reason as you just said.
Once they start targeting villagers, once they find that there's a place that they can hunt and get regular food, they're there all the time. They're so sneaky that what they developed was these people had put posts into the ground in the water, so into the area where they would wash their clothes and gather food. They essentially built like some sort of a containment area where the crocs couldn't get through these poles. So what the crocs did was go around the poles and into the water. So they had figured it out.
Smart.
That's creepy. That's creepy. Where they realize like, oh, the people go, like they must have been watching and realizing, oh, the people go into this area, so I got to go on the ground at night, and then I'll go back into the water, and then I'll catch these fuckers slipping.
And they're patient. They can wait years.
They're intelligent.
They can wait a long time before they eat anything.
Yeah, they don't have to eat for a year, right?
Big croc, yeah.
Are they intelligent?
Yeah.
Well, they're one of the few reptiles that actually really does defend their babies. Like, like a snake.
Like this.
A snake doesn't do that. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing.
What a dinosaur, man.
What is that, a saltwater or a Nile?
This is saltwater crocodile.
Yeah.
Is this in
Is it?
Australia?
In Australia.
Wow. Wow.
Those things ran the whole world at one point in time.
Yeah.
It's just weird there's still creatures like that roaming around, Like, that's
and
a throwback.
And there's some really endangered crocodiles. And you'll see in our show, I think even for episode 1, there's the zoo curator that says, oh, we bought a few Philippine crocodiles from this dealer. I think it's in the first episode. And Philippine crocodiles today are super endangered. Like there's still some really, really rare ones. Not saltwater crocs and not Nile crocs, but there's some really endangered
Is that a
crocodiles.
thrill for these guys that they get something that they're not supposed to have? Is that part of it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's like a rare baseball card.
No, it's like rare art. It's like having
Yeah.
And then there's
I get excited by seeing something I never saw before. I'm like a kid in
Sure.
a
It's
candy
like
store.
birders. Yeah,
No, but when
same.
I see a cool like pink landing one, I've never seen one in the wild or anywhere. And I've been to the Galapagos, so yeah, it's a thrill. Yeah, it's a
but
high.
you put it in your backpack and take it home is probably not encouraged.
I'd stuff it down my pants. No, I'd be too scared.
Well, you wouldn't want to do that, right? You'd want
Well,
to
ever
be in
since
its natural habitat.
No, I wouldn't want to. My mother gave me a good moral compass with that. She used to say to me when I was a kid, "Don't play God, Eric." I was keeping things, and she'd tell me, "You got to let it go at the end of the summer." So I was lucky to have that because a lot of people didn't have that mother, and I did. So I kind of, against my better judgment, when I was a kid, I did bad things that my mother didn't like. But later in life, she was right. Keep it in the wild.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
they're fascinating in the wild. I just like I do appreciate them in the wild. I'm perplexed as to why people would have their life revolve around taking care of reptiles. It just seems really odd.
Well, people get into it and they get addicted and they buy more and more and more, and then they get divorced and they get rid of them all, or they get burned out on it because after a while it's a lot of work taking care of a lot of reptiles. So it's kind of like, people get really into it and sometimes it's hard to sustain it.
But more trade than the other collectible culture.
Trade?
It's more trade, more,
Like I'll give you a crocodile.
buy,
you
sell,
gi-
trade, yeah.
What's going on here, Jamie?
Bare gallbladder for...
I've never seen this footage.
That's a shark.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
stealing a shark that a guy caught.
Wow.
That must be American crocodile, right?
I don't know.
It's Australia? Okay, a lot of sharks in Australia. That makes sense.
I don't know.
Wow, so it just stole this guy's fish. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What's been your interest in wildlife?
Well, man, I'm fascinated by wildlife. I'm just much more interested in mammals for whatever reason. I mean, I'm interested in these things. I found them fascinating, but they're not as compelling to me for whatever reason. And I always wondered what that is. Like, you know, I did this thing on social media once, the social media hierarchy of dead animals. And I said, like, fish, fillets of fish, no one cares. Dead fish, people care a little more, but not much. Yeah. Dead turkey, not that big a deal. Dead deer, okay, now we're getting weird. You know, dead bear, now people get mad at you. It's interesting.
You know, I went to this thing called Safari Club International in Vegas. It's the biggest trophy hunting, convention. And I was filming undercover, and I started out, asking, can you taxidermy this and that? And then I kind of, raised the bar, and I said, can you taxidermy a chimp for me? And they're like, yeah, we can do a chimp. I said, what about an orangutan? Yeah, we could do an orangutan. Anyway, and I was going around to different taxidermists in this giant convention. They had elephants and lions and all kinds of stuff. Eventually, I asked someone if you could taxidermy a human, and then suddenly I noticed all these guys starting to follow me, and there was a big NRA booth and a lot of people with guns, and eventually they surrounded me, and I was trying to get rid of my, camera gear and throw it in the garbage and stuff. But it was interesting where the line is and what you're allowed to.
Well, it sounds like you're a fucking psychopath. You're asking him if you could taxidermy a human. You don't think that's? They probably thought for sure you're a Fed or someone
or a joke
undercover. Or, I mean, obviously,
it was kind of a joke. But they literally started putting eyeballs on me and saying, "Who the fuck is this guy?"
Yeah,
yeah.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah, but they were.
Hey, how do you take a fucking human and turn it into a statue?
People have shrunken heads. I know people with shrunken heads, actually.
Right.
They collect them. But no, it's pretty macabre. But the fact that they would taxidermy a chimp and an orangutan and a gorilla.
So who are these people that said they would do that? They're just
taxidermists that are in this convention that taxidermy
how
your,
would one
your big
even,
game.
So someone would have to smuggle it back.
A lot of what happens is, and a lot of the, when zoo animals die, sometimes they send it to people that taxidermy it. So I know people that get a lot of zoo carcasses and they, taxidermy a chimp. I've seen it. But yeah.
So when a zoo has the option to sell the dead body and then someone turns it into a taxidermy statue?
It's gone on for a long time. I nothing against zoos, but that was one way to get really unusual animals. Like I have a guy I know that's taxidermied a number of Komodo dragons that came from zoos because people don't have Komodo dragons in the private sector.
Well, I guess no harm, no foul if it's already dead.
But I guess I make the point you're making. I'm just sort of saying it's interesting how fish, even though certain fish can live over 100 years, certain rockfish and have longevity that's incredible, we don't think of them in the same way as we think of these higher.
Right. We don't care at all.
We don't care at all.
Yeah, we don't seem to. But, going fishing is much more common than going hunting.
Yeah,
for
now
sure.
that I said what I just said, maybe that's a little twisted.
What do you mean?
About taxiderming a person.
Yeah,
in
well,
the
it
show.
is twisted. Yeah, you asked them a
I think I
fucking
said that
insane
out of
thing.
context.
Whoa. You
There
could
you go.
buy this?
Yeah.
So, yeah. It says it's real. I was trying to look to see if it was fake, but it says
What?
it's real.
How is that
It's a
legal?
document. I'm not sure on the screen. I mean, it wasn't hard to find either.
Well, there's our friend. That
It's only
does that.
$3,000?
I mean,
No, the guy
In
that,
Riverside.
yeah, the guy that has the taxidermy.
He's got a funny name for his museum.
Yeah, he's got the Komodo dragon, but now that I think about it, he had a number of taxidermied gorillas.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it.
Now, do they say where they got this from? Does it say how they acquired this body?
that document might. We
Yeah.
probably have to pay for the document.
That's fucking weird, man.
But to your point about this kind of societal reaction to
Different animals.
wildlife issues, I
Yeah.
think that's what we're super curious about. What drives people's obsessions around certain things? In this case, this happens to be part sport, part industry, part obsession with scarcity. But that is all, in this case, leading more to destructive extinction problems. Very few more and more animals are threatened with extinction than ever before, particularly reptiles. Now, 1 out of every 5 are threatened with extinction, and it's growing at an accelerated rate. mainly because of things that we explore in our show.
But-
Pet trade, exotic, smuggling, all of that. But, to get people to care about things that can harm you, believe it or not, we have challenges with, subject matter in the show that, we'll get notes back and it might be too hardcore for people to see because it's a brutal volume-based industry. And there's a lot of spoilage.
But we try not to show the bludgeoning and the cruelty of the animals. We try to avoid that with Tiger King and Chimp Crazy in the show because people turn the channel. So we try. We could, if we wanted to, we could do that.
Well, I think but I'm more talking more about the point of like how do people respond to something through an interest, and what turns them on, what turns them off, and what is it about us that has this connection to certain. Why are there turtle people? Why do you like turtles?
Well,
why
why
like
do you
iguanas?
think people vilify reptiles? You like mammals, you said. Why do you think people aren't so keen on reptiles?
Well, they're not like us, right? They're a different sort of predatory lizard thing, and I think in our mind they harken back to the days where these things were a real problem for human beings. Right. I think, crocodiles and alligators, like they enact like there's a visceral reaction that people have to them that I think is warranted. It's genetic, probably.
But you don't think, because we like to talk about the warm, cuddly, charismatic animals like a panda bear or a koala bear or
Well, that I think is anthropomorphism that's done by
Yeah.
Disney movies.
Of course it is.
Okay.
Yeah, that because people in the pioneer days, they didn't think of bears that way.
Right. But I would argue that a bear, a Kodiak bear, a polar bear, a lion, is a lot more concerning than most reptiles.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
why we vilify reptiles and have that, feeling about them is, I think, maybe more as to what you said about the anthropomorphism. A snake has no legs like us. They don't breastfeed their babies like a bear or like a mammal. They have a forked tongue. They have no ears. A snake is weird. They're nothing like us. So maybe we feel so removed from them and they're scary.
Yeah.
Even though they're really not that scary.
We talked to this guy. The Disney thing's so interesting to me because that was actually something that I was kind of deep on. This guy Carl Safina. Is he more of an anthropologist but he's more of a behavioral
He's
expert?
like a animal behaviorist and sort of more in the groove of like, animal welfare and animal behavior.
Yeah, but this sort of creation of anthropomorphic characters through Disney. I mean, they were, if you track this sort of correlation to, entry points into, mainstream culture, it's they're easy, they're great devices for human emotion, but then there's this more perverse side of, it creates these demands for pets. Zootopia, with snakes, like Zootopia had a snake as a central character and it's going crazy in China,
Well, that's a pop culture thing, like,
But that's so these well-intentioned things and these ways in which we portray animals.
Finding Nemo, everyone wanted a clownfish.
Yeah.
Harry Potter, everyone wanted a baby owl. I was in Asia after Harry Potter, and I was like, why are there like 50 baby owls in this market? And they were Harry Potter birds. That's a byproduct of pop culture, right?
Yeah.
Jurassic Park, everyone wants their little bearded dragon because they want a miniature dinosaur. So who knows what's going to happen after Monsters of God? They're all going to want snakes again.
Hopefully, have some.
Did Tiger
reverence.
King open up the door for that, you think? Did people look at that and find it appealing? Like, that's what I've been missing.
Well, I think
I've been looking for my niche.
I think it gave the opposite of people maybe questioning.
It's like Deliverance.
It's a little Deliverance.
Tiger
but
King, the way you're talking.
Maybe question when you take a photo with a baby tiger at a roadside zoo. I think that was more, because it was so big in pop culture.
I want to
that-
get me a tiger after Tiger King. I want to get me a little baby tiger.
Okay, if we're gonna play into this lane, it's like, look, everyone was shocked that you could basically get one for free.
Well, we've talked about it before on the podcast, but there's more tigers in captivity in Texas than all the wild of the world.
Yeah.
In people's private collections.
I think religion also plays a big role in the vilification of reptiles, particularly snakes. Something about
Adam and Eve?
the Adam
Yeah.
Eve, and
Yeah.
Eve complex, and the snake
Yeah.
is bad.
Serpent.
The serpent, yeah.
More people dream of snakes in this country than any other thing combined. It's mostly negative dreams. More scary.
Not sharks.
No,
snakes.
There's Google
Like
did
nightmare snake dreams.
Google did this sort of infographic by country, and what is the most common dream that people have? And it's usually around snakes, which is
I have
remarkable.
like someone chasing me or panic dreams. I never have a nightmare about a snake.
But you never hear of like a phobia directly attached to sharks. You have ophidiophobia, which is a fear of snakes, but you don't hear of a sharkophobia.
Or arachnophobia.
Right.
Yeah.
Spiders. Yeah.
People are freaked out by spiders.
Oh, yeah. I think that's a genetic thing. I think there's a memory.
Yeah.
I think someone either was bit or knows someone that was bit, and that information got transferred down to their offspring.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure of that. Because hosting Fear Factor, I got to see people with legitimate arachnophobia and legitimate ophidiophobia, where it is like nothing else.
Yeah.
Like they see it and they fucking freak out.
Yeah.
Like it's irrational.
Yeah.
It's like everything in their body saying, you got to get out of here right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not like everybody else. Everybody else who looked at it was like, oh, yikes. And then a few people, they had that genetic memory, I think.
Yeah,
That's just a
I
theory.
agree, and it's
amplified
cultural.
culture.
It's
It's
cultural.
cultural. Yeah.
Like we have a lot of Mexican guys that work with us, and every year we do a snake course when the snakes start coming out in the spring, and I show them how to put a rattlesnake.
It's the only staff meeting he ever does.
Yeah. It's the only thing I care about. But I don't want people killing snakes that work for me. And I'm like, hey, you don't have to kill the snake. And they're so used to taking the machete and cutting the snake's head off. And we don't do that. We move the rattlesnake and we put it somewhere else. We move the gopher snake, the king snake. But they just have this, some of them, as you were just saying, just can't wrap their head around even touching the snake because it's instilled in them, from their parents or from whatever their childhood that they're scared of snakes. And it's hard to change
But
that.
with kids, like I'm sure with your kids and your daughters, like I see with little boys, 6 and 3, how their reaction, and they're not fearful. Like, and it's partially because of the influence of the work that I'm doing. But, I watch them interact. I see their friends. I see their cousins that are fearful. They have an adverse reaction. I also think it's like, your exposure to it.
Yeah.
A lot. And you're right, probably some genetic kind of.
Definitely exposure too. I mean, if you grow up and you're used to being around different kinds of animals and the wildlife and different things, you probably be more comfortable around unique animals. But if you're a person who grows up entirely in the city,
Yeah.
Did your parents like animals? Did they?
dogs. We had dogs and cats, normal stuff.
Right. I had a weird mom. that liked snakes, and so that played a role in it.
Okay.
And liked salamanders.
Oh, that explains
and
a lot.
She would take me to pet stores and actually steal the snakes and salamanders and steal them and put them in her purse. And
God.
And then take me out into the woods and we'd let them go. So that's the kind of mother.
wow.
Yeah, she didn't
Yeah.
like seeing them in
Yeah.
cages.
Wow.
But she didn't mind kleptomania. And so I got good at stealing for a while.
It's an odd mom who's like really into snakes. That's an odd mom.
No, she just
Yeah.
wanted to free them. She didn't like seeing them in cages. So,
Oh, I understand.
In aquariums.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I didn't grow up around any of that. I didn't know anybody who had a snake as a pet. Not that I can remember.
Really, in New Jersey?
Well, I was born in New Jersey, but I grew up all over the place. I lived in San Francisco until I was 11. Then I lived in Florida from 11 to 13. I actually was around a lot of alligators during that time.
There it is.
Yeah, we were in Gainesville, and there was a place called Lake Alice there that had a lot of alligators.
Yeah.
You'd see it all the time. And when I was there, one lady got
At
her
a clearly
dog.
impressionable age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was around them a lot, but they were weird. Like they didn't do anything. They just laid on the shore. You could see them, and you
Yeah.
could be fairly close. Even though like they could have clearly chased me and caught me because they can run like 30 miles an hour, right? They could have caught me if
Yeah.
they wanted to. They didn't. They weren't really interested in people. Apparently, they had plenty of food, and they were at that time they were actually endangered. So alligators, like they were telling people not to feed them marshmallows because people would throw marshmallows on the lake because you could watch the alligator come up and eat the marshmallow. They like marshmallows. And they said, hey, these are not good for alligators.
Yeah.
They're super worried about alligator diabetes or something. Whatever.
Yeah.
But they were concerned
Gains
about
of-
like
yeah.
giving the
alligator sugar rush.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
concerned about giving the alligator non-nutritious food, which I thought was funny because they were saying that they were endangered. But
And it's amazing that in the 50s and 60s, they were really endangered, and it was hard to find an alligator. And when you think about that now, and
it's
how
hard to believe.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, and how the Endangered Species Act did help bald eagles, birds of prey,
It actually worked.
because of DDT.
Yeah.
But it brought back alligators, and now alligators, like you can't even imagine they were endangered. They're like ubiquitous in Florida.
Oh, they're everywhere. They
they're
literally
everywhere.
say every pond has the potential to have an
They're
alligator. in it.
everywhere.
You look. They move around. They're very overpopulated. Yeah.
What's interesting about this work in the show that spans so much time we had, which you shared in this, curiosity, but we had great access to all of these great people in different industry. So you have heads of the zoo, you have, DOJ, DEA, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the collectors, the bigger suppliers, and you have all aspects of this sort of industry. And what the show became, as we were working through the edit, is this kind of, this real clear story of unintended consequences, which is the more you enforce, you have great laws that happen, but it triggers something else, and that triggers something else. And you see this kind of time after time after time again. And in some cases, it leads to some positive things like ESA or the Endangered Species Act, or you have a pop culture event that drives sales of a animal that's going to be poached out of extinction. So it's a really interesting way of looking at this and analyzing it in a way.
Yeah, what you realize, and you'll see, Joe, if you continue watching, that the pathology behind everyone, the law enforcement, they're going after their prize, right? They're going after their big trophy is the bad guy. The bad guy, the dealer, the smuggler, is going after the rarest reptile. The zoos got very competitive with reptile houses in the 70s and 80s because they started realizing they were very popular. One of the most popular things in zoos are reptile houses. They wanted the Komodo dragon, the rare reptiles. And the collector, like guys like me that really dig reptiles, wanted like the pink, Galapagos land iguana that no one has, or the unattainable. So everyone kind of is going after each other. The reptile, the feds are going after the bad guys, and it's a similar pathology. And what you find out in the end of the series is there's a scene where law enforcement has something that you can't believe, and it's a little like doing a film about cocaine cowboys, and the law enforcement has a garage full of heroin and cocaine that they're selling. So it's like it gets very gray, and the psychology is similar between
the only difference between the prisoner and the guard are the bars. Well, that's the sort of kind of idea.
And you'll see there's no clear right and wrong, and sometimes the laws don't work, so it's messy, and sometimes there should be laws where there aren't laws. Back to the marijuana, back to the marijuana analogy, like fucking. How twisted it is that someone goes to prison for 40 years over pot, and now you can go to a weed shop every corner in Oklahoma, right? But it's a very messy, complex story that was hard to weave together, and I think it was the most challenging for us, certainly more challenging than Tiger King.
The most proud. I think
Chimp Crazy.
It's really deep, and it's a good one.
And we lived.
And we lived for now.
You guys spend a lot of time on these.
Yeah.
This is one of the things that I found shocking while you were just discussing this. You were saying it was like 6 years.
More. Yeah.
More. How many? When did you plant the seed?
Well, the seed was planted really in my head when I read this book, The Lizard King, in 2008. And I tried to buy the rights from this author, Brian Christie, who wrote this incredible book, The Lizard King, in 2008. So that's almost 20 years ago. I didn't start filming until 2014 with Josh Safdie, and that was the beginning. But Tiger King and other things got in the way. So yeah, maybe 6 years if you were to condense that time.
But when we
least.
saw you a couple of years ago, we were making many projects along this because you can't do them all. It's a very unstructured way of working. We don't have a certain amount of shoot days. It's kind of a flow. We like these longitudinal.
We shoot multiple projects at the same time.
And we're lucky because a lot of our worlds are in certain places. So it's one-stop shopping. In Florida, there's a lot of interesting people, a lot of colorful people that are are hitting some of these themes that we're exploring in different works. So I think. So we're able to kind of do that, but the duration's great because sometimes constraints are, no, I think it's great in some ways because if you're able to kind of balance other work because, holding out for access to a really important person might not happen in the first go around, but a year later or 2 years later.
Yeah.
What is the common factor that you guys, is it fucked up people that you guys are looking for when you decide what kind of documentaries you're making?
Not just that would be too superficial. There's too many fucked up people out there,
but
Joe.
Fucked up people in connection with wildlife is the theme of the big three that you've got.
And people that have a story that's somewhere hidden in there. So we cast a wide fucking net. Like we filmed shark people and taxidermists and the guy that breeds the most long-tailed macaque monkeys for medical research where we got COVID from. We're filming so many different subcultures of animal people and other people. And then you sort of hone in on something. And so the monkey mom thing became Chimp Crazy, and we started seeing a story there. So it's not like we just go out and just lock into something and there's a story. We have to kind of find it. And I would say this is not a good recipe for people that want to make documentaries. Like anyone starting out in life to try to make docs, don't do what we do because it's not a good way to get rich and it takes forever and you may never have a story. And so it's like...
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah.
It seems
It's like we got lucky that Joe Exotic tried to kill Kelly Baskin while we were filming. We got lucky in a sense that... And we got lucky he didn't kill her. And we got lucky in a sense that Tanya kidnapped a chimpanzee. This is not a recipe for success. We film. We do a lot of shit that no one ever sees.
Joe Exotic DMs me all the time on Instagram.
Oh, still, yeah.
He wants to get out.
There's a way maybe we can get him out. By the way, I'll tell you after
What?
the show. I'll tell you after the show.
Do you want him to get out?
The government made a deal with him before the trial. They said, you can do 6 years or you're going to have a trial. 6 years. He's been in jail now for 9 years or whatever it's been.
Right.
He would be out right now if he made that deal. He thought he was going to get off. And I was like, Joe, I was on the phone with him every day at the time from prison. I said, take the deal. I don't know. I'm not into throwing people in prison and throwing away the key forever.
Tanya's in jail too,
Right.
We're good
for
at that.
perjury. I think she doesn't deserve to be there for 4 years, for perjury.
Well, she didn't need to kidnap another chimp.
Yeah,
We tried to help her,
That's
but she
also
didn't. She was her own worst enemy. Anyway,
Well, these people are obsessed.
I think also what attracts the crime element is the sentencing is low for wildlife trafficking, wildlife crime.
Well,
But did they really consider that when they're getting involved? Like, oh, no big deal. Only do 4 years. Did they really
they
think
keep
of that?
going back to it. They keep doing it.
Yeah, but I think that's because they're obsessed.
Yeah.
They're trying not to get caught. I don't think they're looking at it and balancing out the low sentence rate and going, this is a good thing to get involved in.
I think that
get
it
involved
has
in
a
heroin. It's a
role-
pretty stiff crime.
I think it's a risk factor that's considered, and especially in the
Yeah.
sense of like
I think
how much
most of
how much
them,
risk
Jeremy,
people
I
will
think
take.
most of them think they're going to get away with it, or they're
Yeah.
smarter than the feds.
But they have this sort of worst case
Yeah.
thinking about if there was something to happen. It's 8 months at a camp.
Right.
They're
But
not
a lot
going
of
with
a lot
that.
of them go to prison multiple times. While we were filming this show, during the filming, we were shocked that one of the lead guys in our film was under investigation, being indicted. He didn't tell us, and then finally he said, "Guys, I'm going to prison," and we don't cover it in the show because it was just too much. But we were like, "What? You've been filming with us for 2 years and you're going to prison now?" And then he finally got out of prison. We filmed him more, and he's got an ankle bracelet. And he'd been to prison 5 years before that, or I don't know, 8 years before that. So there's a lot of...
What was he going to prison for?
This time for smuggling turtles that were going out to Asia. 3-striped mud turtles.
Yeah, we're no longer bringing wildlife in to buy and collect. It's actually coming out of our country into China.
Really?
Yeah.
What stuff are we exporting to China?
Well, a lot of it's, Eric, the one recently that happened.
I just took in a confiscation 3 weeks ago of 300 three-toed box turtles that come out of the central part of the U.S., Oklahoma, Missouri. And 2 weeks later, a guy was busted coming into Mexico with turtles, and I took those turtles from U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So animals are coming into the country out of Mexico, different countries, and then we're exporting now, which is new in the last 10 years, a lot of native turtles and reptiles and other wildlife to Southeast Asia and Europe.
And how are they getting there?
It's mostly air cargo, carry-on. This particular confiscation 3 weeks ago, they busted the guys with more box turtles in their luggage once they got to Hong Kong and China. Like I said, China, Taiwan,
A lot of socks. wrap
Malaysia,
socks.
Jakarta. The reptile industry is enormous for now keeping them as exotic pets. Enormous. I mean, it's in Asia, like the bird world, the birds are called the cut flowers of the wildlife trade in Asia because, like we might have a bouquet or a plant in our house, they have a bird cage in Southeast Asia. And there's something like some insane statistic about how many people have a bird in their house. And when you go to the bird markets in Jakarta, it's just surreal. Or in Thailand, there's one in Bangkok called Chatuchak Market. These huge, animal markets. We talk about where COVID came from, but the scale of these animal markets, bush meat, wildlife, it's on a scale that's beyond your imagination.
So
Where you actually
what
see
kind
it.
what are they selling? Like
They're selling reptiles. They're selling birds.
for meat?
No, these are for pets.
Okay.
The birds are ornamental in your house. You have a songbird. You have an owl. You have a whatever. You can't believe there are people that are.
So they just have like a wildlife mall.
It's effectively like an enormous wildlife mall.
An outdoor mall.
Yeah.
Wow.
And within that mall, there's also seafood. And then there's the reptiles, and then there's the birds. It's like messy. No wonder maybe COVID came from that. It's
COVID
like,
didn't come from that.
I don't know if
Yeah, it came from a fucking lab.
I think you're maybe right. I have a friend, bless his heart, he's a good friend of mine. He said it was a zoonotic disease. It didn't come from a lab, but now I'm beginning to think it might have come from
I think
a
a
lab.
lot of people were influenced to say that it was a natural spillover
But
because they didn't want to admit that we were fucking around with gain of function research.
I think the evidence now shows that it may have
pretty
come from-
clearly.
Yeah.
But also,
I
it
agree.
seems like if you see these kind of these markets,
Yeah.
you would say, "What is this right here, Jeremy?"
Chatuchak.
Guy at a market.
Which one is this?
Oh, this is one of those markets.
Yeah, Jakarta.
I've been to these markets in Jakarta, yeah.
And it's just a wildlife market, and so it's all pets. So what is it about Asia that has such a desire for animals?
Yeah, those
like
are
this
the
for
Harry
pets?
Potter. Those are the Harry Potter owls. That footage is when,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like what is?
Status, wealth, same things in the U.S. that were driving the U.S.
But it's
also
more
cultural.
common in Asia.
Well, in China alone, there's over 1 billion people, so there's just more people, and and the scale and the size of Asia and China is much bigger than the U.S. and Europe combined. So they have a bigger market, and the climate's pretty good to keep exotic animals like Florida. So it's like on steroids. The collectors in Asia.
And why I think that the industry, the trafficking number is so underreported is, you have there's like one person that is responsible for coordinating in the U.S. One person, she's in Delaware, who's responsible for coordinating with U.S. Fish and Wildlife to deal with, these placements of confiscated wildlife, if they're able to even detect them. I think it was something like 10,000 animals in the last few years were coming through LAX, basically the Torrance, the border, and LAX.
It's very
one little sample market.
It's very understaffed, undermanned to be able to manage all the wildlife coming in and out of the country. There's
So
not enough.
even with dogs and detection advancement, they're finding ways to get animals out. And then the sad truth is that they've been starved and dehydrated. Recovering them is impossible. You've gotten lucky with rewilding animals back into New Jersey and stuff like that through his organization, but it's a harmful reality that it's actually still happening. We thought our stuff was
the
the past.
percentage of wildlife that leaves the country, native wildlife to the U.S. It's like 50% is kind of marine stuff like coral and invertebrates that are in the ocean. And the rest is mostly reptiles, mostly turtles. Mammals are very small these days. Birds are very small. So for whatever reason, turtles, and the U.S. has the most, out of any country in the world, we have more species of turtles and tortoises than any country in the world. We have 51 species in the U.S. Mexico's second. India, I think, is maybe third. But so Asia now really wants these turtles where you grow up, in New Jersey and other places where we have these really cool turtles, spotted turtles, bog turtles, wood turtles, really beautiful colored eastern box turtles. Once they get to Asia, they're in the many thousands of dollars. The shipment that just went out that we received the confiscation from, it was about $500,000, just those turtles, once they get to China. So it's big money, and they use mules, and the people that got arrested or busted usually aren't the real ones that are, organizing the whole thing. It's like drugs.
Well, that's a good thing about this docuseries is that you guys are exposing this to people, because I think most people would be completely unaware.
No idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, no idea. No idea where, zoos, animals in the zoos came from.
Is there an issue with people stealing eagles and trying to import them as pets?
So raptors are really interesting. So that sector of the bird world, the bird world is so vast. There's the songbird people, there's the parrot people, really high-end, hyacinth macaws. that are so expensive. One hyacinth costs like $60,000 today, or $50,000, or whatever it is, $40,000. But raptors are increasingly popular in the Middle East. Golden eagles and all these really far out birds of prey. And in the U.S., we have really strict laws when it comes to birds of prey and owning them and falconry. Bobby Kennedy is a falconry guy. He loves falconry. But it's gotten more popular again around the world, having, big birds of prey.
Because it's interesting, I have friends that live in Alaska, and in Alaska, eagles are really common.
Yeah.
Like, they're all over the place up there. Like, they don't even think anything of them.
Yeah.
Especially the guys who go salmon fishing. When they come back from salmon fishing, you literally have like 30, 40 eagles just waiting on the lawn for these boats to arrive because they know that they're going to throw the carcasses out.
Bald eagles.
Yes, bald eagles, yeah. I would imagine some people would want those as a pet, especially in other countries.
Yeah. In the U.S., only Native Americans can have like eagle parts unless you have a permit. Like, it's pretty...
Eagle parts?
Well, like feathers for their headdresses. Like, Native Americans can still do things with birds.
So if you have a stuffed eagle in your house, that's illegal?
I think it's illegal.
Did you ask those guys if they could stuff you an eagle?
Well,
that would be interesting. That's where we draw the line.
By the way, I don't know if they actually have them, but we have this footage. I mean, imagine going in the confiscations room at LAX. It's incredible.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's incredible. You have tiger, just all this rare animal and transformed into so many objects at home. A table, a rug, pool cues.
I was reading about this, that there was a place in China where people could go to eat endangered species, and they would have an endangered species menu, and they would have like a dinner every now and then, like rarely, but it was by invitation only, and these like super weird wealthy people would go out there and they would, eat a lion.
If you're listening, invite us. We'd love to explore.
It's funny. It's fucked up you say that, but it's funny you say that because we once went to this big turtle show in China, and there's it's this huge turtle show, like a car show, and there's girls like in skimpy outfits with banners, like like a car show, but it's massive, and all these rare turtles they're selling as pets. But then for lunch, they have these like dim sum tables that are round, and everyone's served turtle soup. And it's like, how twisted is that? It would be like a reptile show in the U.S., and we have lots of reptile shows in the U.S. And now at lunchtime you're eating reptiles.
Well, the eagle
China's a whole different thing.
I think it's this visibility paradox thing. You have this, charismatic, symbolic thing. There's very, very few. A lot of protection around them. People want it.
What are you talking about? Eagles?
Just talking about what people want, what they can't have. That's the through line in this work.
But eagles,
especially for rare stuff.
Eagles are like American alligators. They've bounced back since DDT and the book that what's her name did in this late 60s, 70s. Silent Spring. That was the book that really changed everything for eagles and birds of prey.
It's America.
Because her book, what was her name? Silent Spring, the author. She changed everything because no one listened to her about DDT and pesticides, which were making the eggs of birds of prey not viable. And it really took
Rachel Carson.
Rachel Carson. It really took a toll. Rachel Carson was an unsung hero. People should know her name, and I forgot it for a minute. But she really is why you have bald eagles. Making that.
Were they on the verge of extinction?
Because of pesticides we were using, because of DDT was doing this thing to the eggs where pelicans, birds of prey were disappearing at alarming rates because of spraying of DDT for agriculture, for pesticides.
Wow.
And then we banned it, and eagles and birds of prey came back. Yeah. Peregrine falcons, all of it. Bald eagles, golden eagles. Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird animal, the bald eagle. That's our pet. That's our national animal.
Yeah,
it's a strange, heartless raptor.
It's a fishing eagle. And there are fishing eagles all over the world that are similar to bald eagles. It's a fishing eagle. That's what it is.
It's just such a cool one.
Yeah,
and there's something about watching them swim away with a salmon in their talons.
Yeah. Well, and also photography's gotten so much better over the years, right? You can. I know there's probably that video you're referencing.
Where we live, there was that eagle cam, and there was a sick eagle, bald eagle, and it became national.
In California?
Yeah, where we live, and it became national news 2 weeks ago.
Golden?
Bald eagle.
Really?
Yeah. And if you Google bald eagle, California, it's in the town we live in where they took it and they're bringing it back to health. But the amount of money that poured in to help that eagle was unbelievable.
Wow.
For this little place.
Going back to how people care, it's remarkable.
But people
you know?
care more about eagles than had that been a turtle or a snake that was rescued.
Well, that's the eagle's America's
Yeah,
bird.
it's America.
It's
Yeah.
America's
I mean, people
bird.
have it tattooed on their back.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's something about an eagle. It's just
It's iconic.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
snake tattoos these days, but yeah,
I'm sure.
you're right.
Yeah,
you're right,
But
you're
there's something about the eagle tattoo's different. It's like America.
right. No,
But
no,
You know?
why? But then the grizzly bear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, such an adverse reaction, so controversial.
They eat a lot of people.
they've been in the
different.
news a lot lately.
There's a reason why the California state flag has a grizzly bear on it, and there's no grizzly bears in California.
Yeah.
It's
We
'cause
have a
they
friend that's
killed
actually
them
trying to
all.
bring him back.
Good luck.
We mentioned this to you last time, and you were like, "Why?" or something. And
Let them naturally return. Reintroduction is always a disaster. Reintroduction of wolves in Colorado right now is a fucking disaster.
Well, they're back. They've now migrated into California, and there's been some wolf sightings even down in Southern.
quite a few. A friend of mine filmed one. We
Yeah.
showed it on the podcast.
Yeah.
He filmed one near Bakersfield.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, a black wolf that was out in the field near Bakersfield. Yeah, they can go incredibly long distances.
Reintroduction works in some places. It's getting better. I have a good friend that's reintroducing jaguars back to northern Argentina. They're doing a pretty good job, but yeah, it's tricky. Like condors,
But
California
it's a
condors.
difference in reintroducing animals to where there's agriculture and where there's a bunch of animals that are in pens and then they start eating them.
No, don't do that.
That's
Yeah.
what Colorado's experiencing now.
Yeah, but I've worked with Ted Turner's group for many years in New Mexico on reintroduction programs, and the guy that did the wolf rewilding of gray wolves is this guy named Mike Phillips, who works for Turner. And yeah, they have a real PR problem, and grizzlies are going to be a bigger PR problem
Yeah.
to get people to wrap their arms around the idea of bringing grizzlies back to
Well,
California.
there's certain states where they're overpopulated, and there's a lot of argument that they should be relisted, and that people should be able to hunt them again like they do in Alaska.
But the Native Americans in California do, by and large, want grizzlies back, and they have this new technology that might be able to keep them kind of in certain areas. They haven't figured it out fully yet, but hopefully they keep them in a certain area because, grizzlies migrating into LA like the wolves right now might not be a good idea.
Well, you already have the mountain lions. There was a great video the other day. I don't know if you guys saw it of a mountain lion in a
Monica,
guy's
yeah.
backyard in Santa Monica.
I saw it.
Big cat.
I have them in my backyard all
I
the
think
time.
that's motivated by displacement from fires, right?
It's also pets. They like to eat people's pets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have these
They're not
cameras.
there though. It's too close. I mean,
What are you talking about? They eat them all the time.
No.
Pets,
in that
pets
in
get
that area?
snatched up
No, but
all the time.
Jeremy, this woman down the street from me was walking her dog at 3 p.m. The mountain lion grabbed her dog. She's literally on Ladera. She's walking her dog, a little dog, and the mountain lion just jumped and grabbed her dog. She's looking at the dog, holding a leash, and goes, "I better let go of this leash." And she did, and she never saw a dog
I'm
again.
sort of saying this little particular suburban pocket of Santa Monica. It's not very common.
Well, where I live, they eat
It's
people's
not common
dogs.
because you don't see them.
Where I live,
Look,
they eat dogs.
Where I live, the mountain lions are eating people's dogs from time to time.
They do it all the time.
sense,
We were
yeah.
talking about Marin County. I think it's Marin. No, well, it's Bay Area, wherever it is, where they have these depredation tags, where they have to shoot problem mountain lions because they're eating pets, and they find out that that's half their diet. Half their diet is pets.
Well, I see them on my cameras. We have these motion detector cameras, and we see them at 3 a.m. right in front of my
Yeah.
house.
Look at that fucker.
I rarely see them with the naked
Face,
eye.
man. Isn't that crazy?
Well, you
But
got
then
one.
when-
You got
but
one
then
out.
one gets hit by a car and they build a bridge across the road. It was kind of amazing.
Well, you got a nice mountain
Yeah.
lion in the lobby out there.
That
Joe.
was from my friend Adam. He hunted that in Colorado. That was a depredation mountain lion. That mountain lion had picked a ranch, and it was killing all the calves. And they actually got to it right after it had. It didn't even kill it. It was eating it while it was alive, and then it ran. They ran it off. The dogs had ran it off the carcass. They had to shoot this calf. It was just torn apart and still suffering alive. And then they killed it.
Luckily, where I am, we have a lot of deer, and we find a deer carcass from time to time. That's a mountain lion kill.
Oh, for sure.
we have a lot of
Yeah.
deer. But back to our show, I want to just say one other thing about sort of the ending, which it was really fortuitous. I just want to bring it up, even though you're not there yet. But
Spoiler alert.
well, it's not really the spoiler alert, but I'll say this: I spent about 20 years working in Madagascar with some rare Madagascan tortoises, and I was trying to save this tortoise in Madagascar, and I did a 60 minutes piece with Leslie Stahl, took her to Madagascar, a New Yorker piece on this tortoise. I failed. Everyone failed. The tortoise functionally went extinct in Madagascar. The poaching was so intense. And the tortoise had a very
What
high.
is it? What is a plowshare tortoise?
What's a reptile that arguably has the most value in the pet trade over almost any other reptile in the world. There may be something close, like a Feijoa, an iguana, or maybe a Komodo dragon, but it's, some of them can be worth as much as $100,000. And people in Madagascar are so poor, especially in the area where this animal comes from. And it only existed in a tiny part of northern Madagascar. That's it.
There it is.
So where are they going? Like
Mostly to Asia. There's a direct flight out of Madagascar to Bangkok. And so...
And they're pets.
Yeah, and some of those photos I made...
So is it possible to buy them in Asia and bring them back to Madagascar?
Well, so this is where I'm going. Very hard to do that because of health screening. I took that photo over there, that little guy. I took some of these photos I even took, actually. Oh, that's the guy that works for us. Anyway, I've been working with this species of tortoise for almost 20 years, and we were able to get some confiscated plowshare tortoises out of China and Taiwan, and we waited patiently for 15 years to try to breed them. And right when we finished this show, and this is a tortoise that's never been bred successfully in the Western world. No zoo institutions have tried to breed them and failed. We were lucky enough to get our first hatchling of this really endangered tortoise right when we finished the show. And so we filmed it, and it made it into the end of the show. But it's a story about the reptile trade, and this was the story in the end of the show about a confiscated group of animals that came from the reptile trade, the rarest and most valuable tortoise in the world. And today we're trying to bring it back to Madagascar, which we're working on, which is happening as we talk to you.
And is the problem that if you bring them back to Madagascar, people are going to go to Madagascar and steal them again and then use them in the pet trade?
So, yes, to be blunt. And so it's somewhat symbolic. It's somewhat about showing Madagascar that we're not trying to profit and take their natural, heritage and, what they rightfully should have. So part of it is showing that we can go full circle, confiscate an animal that was in the illegal exotic reptile trade, breed it, and then return it to Madagascar. But the part that no one wants to talk about that's really controversial is in this particular case, and it's not like one thing fits all. I said this to the folks that are working with this tortoise in Madagascar to try to save it. Hey, the only way you're going to take pressure off of this tortoise, it's like drugs, is if you either legalize drugs, or in the case of drugs, or make this tortoise available for people around the world so they can have it, because it breeds quite easily. Breed them, try to have them in the private sector, in institutions, in zoos. They turn out not to be that difficult to breed, even though no one's ever bred them in the Western world, in Europe or the U.S.
Well, it takes a long time to reach maturity, right?
Well, it's an animal that takes longer, twice as long as a human, or 3 times. They don't reach sexual maturity until they're about 30 years old, 40 years old. Or they can do it. You can raise them faster in captivity than the wild, so they are very slow to reproduce. They're not like rabbits; they're the opposite, and there's so few of them, and so they're very, very rare, very valuable. The only way, ultimately, I think you can really take the pressure off of the poaching is to allow people to start to have them. That's a radiated tortoise, which we also breed.
Wow, that is wild.
So the dremeline is a way to deter poaching,
so we
deter value.
Our organization is the group with Dural that did this dremeling to try to deface them, like cutting off a rhino horn so poachers wouldn't take them. So we were dremeling those tortoises' shell to basically deface the tortoise so poachers would not take the tortoises. It ultimately didn't work.
So they're just taking them because they're beautiful. And if you fuck up their shells.
They have the highest dome shell of any tortoise in relation to the size.
So wild looking.
They have an incredible longevity, well over 100 years they live, and they're gold.
And so that dremeling that you did, that's indicated, that's the top of it right there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that didn't help?
We did that. You can see it over there in the center. That's called the vertebral scutes of the tortoise. And we dremeled them, and we put MG for Madagascar and a number. And we were hoping that defacing the tortoise would make collectors not want to have them, but it didn't work in the end.
Somebody told me, this is a good time to bring this up, that turtle shells, when you look at a turtle shell, it's almost representative of a calendar, and that there is around the outside edge of the turtle, there's like 28 different little squares, and then in the center there's 13. So it's basically like a 13-day or 13-month, 28-day lunar calendar. Yeah, this is it. How weird is that?
Yeah, that's really
The
interesting.
lunar calendar on a turtle's back.
Yeah.
You know a lot of turtle facts.
I did not know that one, actually.
You didn't know that one?
I know
Oh,
a lot
I'm
of
happy.
cultures like Asia and American Indians believe that the earth sits on a turtle.
Yeah, it's
And
turtles all the way down. It's a
Yeah.
Turtle Simpson song.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. That's interesting. Wow.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, that's
Like,
interesting.
why? What is that all about? Like, that's very strange that it coincides. It's like exact to what a lunar calendar is.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I mean, turtles have been on planet Earth longer than dinosaurs. They've been here for over 200 million years. So they've been around a long time. So there's been people have been playing with turtles forever. So maybe they came up with a lot of things that relate to turtles.
But it's odd that it
Yeah.
syncs up with a 28-day lunar calendar.
I know sports stadiums are in the beginning, or things that were shaped like that, like a geodesic dome, came somewhat from the how turtles are designed. Like there was some architectural thing that came
That makes sense.
from
Yeah.
turtles. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
The geodesic, like the
Yeah,
structure of
yeah,
it to keep
and-
rigidity.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
And I know turtles. The first writing, the earliest writing was on the plastron, the bottom of a turtle shell in China. Maybe some of the earliest writing,
Really?
going back some really, I don't know, a couple thousand years. So turtles have been used for all kinds of things, for writing, for medicinal medicine, especially in Asia. It's gone back thousands of years, using turtles for qi and for vitality and all these kinds of things. If you get sick, you make some turtle
There's
soup.
a lot of weird stuff with that.
There's a lot of
too.
stuff that has
like
to do
the
with
rhino
turtles.
horn things
Yeah.
for boners. Like, hey guys,
Well, they really like
We have
they
Viagra.
really put some
Oracle bone
Viagra.
script?
Yeah,
There you go.
Oracle bone script on the bottom of a turtle shell.
Put
Look
that
how
on your-
cool that looks. Go back to that. please.
Beautiful, right? Beautiful.
6,200 BC.
Yeah, more than
6,600 to 6,200 BC. Go to the images again of the writing on it. Look how cool that writing is.
Multiple of them.
I mean,
That's
this
kinda-
one's beautiful on the
Yeah.
right. That one's beautiful.
That's wild.
But I think it was some of the earliest writing was on turtle shells like
Well,
this.
it sounds like it. If it's 6,000 BC,
Yeah.
6,000 BC. I mean, that predates ancient Babylonia,
Yeah.
or at least what we know about it.
So turtles have been used in
Wild.
Native American culture forever. Yeah, yeah.
Survived a lot of extinction events.
That's an ox scapula.
It's
and turtle shell.
yeah.
Ox scapula.
I mean, there are turtle farms in China that you cannot believe. They're breeding these turtles, mostly Asian box turtles, Chinese box turtles, and these people are multi-millionaires, and they sell one turtle for as much as like $20,000. One
What?
turtle, and the wild caught turtles are more valuable than the farm turtles. But there's turtle farms that are breeding. They're called golden coin turtles. It's a Chinese Asian turtle that can fetch huge amounts of money.
Why is the wild one worth more?
It's like wild rhino horn is worth more because they think the wild rhino eats things that are medicinal versus just a captive rhino that's eating hay. And it's the stuff they eat that goes into the horn, which makes sense, like your fingernail, it's keratin. So the wild rhino horn is going to have more good stuff for you. And of course, they'll probably grate some Viagra in it to make you really believe that it gives you like an erection. They'll cheat. But no.
Unless it does.
So
I mean,
the
I don't
wild,
know if it actually works.
Well, they do grate the Viagra in the rhino horn sometimes. But the wild turtle is just eating things and has more chi than the farm turtle. But they have these enormous turtle farms. Like, 15-story buildings that are all turtles.
Jamie, I got to see this. So, wild turtle farms in
China.
So,
Turtle farms in
and
China.
this is all just for pets.
No, this is for consumption. This is you'll pay $20,000. Now there's turtles
Wait a minute, 20 grand for consumption?
for consumption for like a golden coin turtle if it's a wild one, like big money.
They want to eat it.
Yeah, but then in China you can also pay $100,000 for a Yunnan box turtle. A Yunnan box turtle can be $100,000.
So these are these turtle farms.
Yeah, but
and
I'm
this
not.
is all for like turtle soup.
Yeah, but these are soft-shell turtles in this image that you're looking at. I'm talking about things like golden coin turtles, much more valuable turtles for consumption than these soft-shell turtles.
Why are they worth more?
They're just.
Is it just because it's rare?
Oh, this guy. I know this guy. Garden State Turtle. I know that guy in New Jersey. Yeah, he's a good guy, Chris Leone. That's a golden coin turtle. So we breed these in where we are, where we work with turtles, and we send these back to China from time to time.
Okay, but why? Explain why is it worth $20,000?
For whatever reason, this turtle is called a golden coin turtle. Cora trifalciata is the scientific name, and it is very coveted, and apparently it has certain properties that can cure cancer and other diseases. And so this turtle is high on the list for consumption for medicinal reasons.
But rare.
Allegedly can
Yeah.
cure cancer, right?
Yeah,
Is there any
yeah.
false beliefs?
But you can see 20 grand,
Acne.
40 grand.
20 grand as high as 40 grand
Yeah.
for a fucking turtle.
Yeah. But
And,
then,
and to eat it.
yeah, but then there's turtles that can be 100,000 or 200,000.
So is it just because it's difficult to acquire that it's like a status thing? That it's worth $20,000 or $40,000?
Well, they're very rare in the wild now, but they farm them. But they're very endangered. It's a critically endangered turtle. We breed them, at my facility. But there's a lot of people in China, and
Right.
if you want to save someone's life, you'll pay whatever it takes to save.
So when they're
someone's life.
buying it for $20,000, they're buying it to try to save someone's life?
or someone's sick, or they really want good health and
Okay.
they're wealthy.
Okay, so you could just get it just as like
Yeah.
a prophylactic turtle. You eat it for medicine to make sure you don't get sick.
Something like that.
It sounds insane though that it's $20,000 for a turtle.
Yeah, but
a
if you
meal.
if you look up Yunnan box turtle, it was thought to be extinct for 50 years, and they rediscovered it. And a Yunnan box turtle today, if you could even get one, would be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Another turtle similar to that. That
and are
was
they
thought to-
eating those too?
No, that one's so rare. There's so few of them. That one is people buy it as an exotic pet. That's really rare. It's very.
So this is kind of it's a tricky situation because, and on one hand, if they're extinct in the wild and these people have them as pets, maybe you can recover them somehow or another.
Yeah.
no,
So
that's an American box turtle. That's not a.
Or
U-
they're in a zoo,
wow,
for
it's
example,
so
by the
pretty.
way.
So that's why
pretty that is.
that's a turtle that's being shipped to. That's a U.S. turtle from the East Coast that's being sold and smuggled to China and other parts of Asia. Because look how beautiful our turtles are in the U.S.
God, that is a pretty turtle.
Oh, you do have a photo of a Yunnan box turtle. It's just not the one there. That bland thing is a Yunnan box turtle. That
The one above it?
Yeah, the one that's kind of gray.
Right there?
No, that's a three-toed box turtle. No, that
Which
one.
That one?
That one. That
That's
one
the
could be
Yunnan
worth.
box turtle.
That could be worth
Please,
$200,000.
Jamie, get him right.
What?
That
Yeah.
turtle. That turtle was thought to be extinct for over half a century.
That's a
turtle.
boring ass turtle. That other one, this
You're
way
turning him
cooler.
on now.
Well, don't get me down the
Yeah,
turtle
yeah,
rabbit
yeah,
hole.
getting him too
But that
excited.
one where your cursor was just over the one that was, that guy. No, the one to the left.
Yeah, the
to
yellow
the right
one.
of it. Right, that
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that one's cool as shit.
Yeah, that's a
That's
a
wild.
male eastern box turtle. They always have red eyes. The
God,
males.
it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But solutions to the scarcity problem.
That's a male
is
Eastern
what you're
box turtle.
describing. Pet trade can commercializing aspects of it can
But-
reduce.
But, what's important about
issues.
this conversation actually is people think of ivory, rhino horn, whales, and they have no idea that a turtle, pound for pound, could be more valuable than a rhino horn, possibly. A turtle.
I had no idea.
No, nobody knows this, but
Yeah.
it's crazy what the money involved in these. Back to the
Mm-hmm.
confiscations we're getting, and the trade in turtles going out of this country is in the millions and millions and millions and millions. And there are people in China and other parts of Asia that are getting very rich in the turtle trade. And we always hear about pangolin scales, rhino horn, ivory, and those things are important. But the turtle trade is really massive, and the reptile trade is massive. And there's a lot of money in it, and they're easy to transport because a turtle doesn't need to eat or drink. Just wrap them in socks, put them in a box, shove them all in there, put them in diapers, tape them up, ship them.
They don't even need much air.
They need a little air, but they have a very low blood pressure, not like we have a higher blood pressure than reptiles, and they can live without water or food, as you know, for a very long time. So they're, like wildlife, nature with handles. You can just
Transport them
transport
anywhere.
them.
And
yeah.
if they're really worth $20,000 to $40,000,
You're putting that in
each-
your bag.
Yeah.
Oh, and,
Crazy.
and they
Yeah.
really are. They really are worth that.
That is crazy. I would have never guessed.
Yeah.
And I would never guess that it's for consumption. That's even more
Well,
weird.
no, the turtles that are leaving this country going to China are for exotic
pets, right.
exotic pets.
But the
that
ones
one,
that they're
yeah,
eating.
yeah, the ones
Yeah.
yeah,
That it's worth $20,000. That's insane.
yeah, at least. Yeah.
Is there a market for snake meat?
Yeah, so if you've been to Taiwan or China, there's these snake bars where you can literally have a snake bleed out while it's alive, a cobra, and put it in your drink. There's snakes. There's a snake.
You want to talk about diarrhea?
Yeah.
What kind of diarrhea
I
you get
mean,
from snake blood?
I was many years ago.
Oh my God!
I was in Myanmar, in Burma, at a snake place, and they were just loading snakes up in these trucks, like big trucks, just stacking snakes. And they were heading into China. So the snake meat,
Snake meat is big in China.
look, tiger, penis, tiger this,
Tiger- well,
tiger
hold on.
bones.
Hold on.
Tiger,
Back it up.
Tiger parts.
Back it up. Tiger penis?
Tiger penis.
Tiger penis is a big delicacy over there?
I think they're more creative than we are. They eat a lot of stuff.
That's a fact.
Okay.
But the tiger penis thing I was not aware of. That's a delicacy?
I don't know what that does for you. Maybe that's another Viagra kind of thing. But there's tiger farms, and they part them out and they sell them to China.
So there's tiger farms that are just for consumption.
Yeah, tiger bone wine, tiger this, tiger
What?
that.
Tiger bone wine.
Sounds like it's part of that,
you're-
like,
No, but tigers.
rhino
What,
horn.
Jamie?
It's like a rhino horn type deal, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's giving them.
Aphrodisiac.
It's
Yeah.
believed to
powers,
increase
yeah.
virility and
Yeah.
enhance male sexual performance. Dun dun dun.
Tiger phallus soup.
Ooh,
One tiger penis.
But a turtle is worth more than a tiger, guys.
that's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
But I didn't know that there was a market for tiger meat.
Yeah.
And is it all the meat of the tiger or just dicks? It's just chop away the rest.
Joe, I've been to the turtle farms. I've been to the snake bars. I haven't gotten into the
Tiger penis, the future of Chinese medicine. Hey, this guy's
presentation.
doing a workshop.
We should go to this workshop. Yeah.
What is this guy
That was a
teaching?
couple years ago, but
Yeah.
there might be
Okay.
a
He's on the
fresh
run
one.
right now.
Don't get me started to talk about animal penises. My favorite movie as a kid was a movie called Birds Do It, Bees Do It. I don't even know if it still exists, but all it was animals having sex, from a praying mantis, like eating the head off of the male, to a rhino. And it was a great movie. Just sex.
I did not know that there was a market for the meat.
I don't know if
What is
that's
that?
what-
Tiger dick?
Yep.
Nice.
Not what I would have thought it looked like.
Crazy looking.
That looks like a nudibranch, a sea slug.
It looks like a piece of sushi.
Yeah, it definitely looks like
What it
that.
is. No, it looks like a piece of sushi.
Yeah,
it looks like what
some
I
kind
had
of
for
shrimp
dinner last
sushi.
night.
Looks like something you get at Sushi by Scratch. So when they're having these tiger farms where they're farming the meat, like how are they cooking tiger meat? Like what does that go into?
Listen,
Is that really common over there?
Even though I did Tiger King, I'm not an expert on tigers. I do know a little bit more about reptiles, but I have a friend that did a movie called, I think it's called, what's it called? Carl Amon did a movie about the tiger industry in Vietnam and in Cambodia and farming tigers. And I think it's called, oh God, I can't remember. But anyway, there's a whole tiger industry and people breeding tigers in parts of Asia for tiger parts.
Yeah, it's still illegal, but they definitely still do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like
Yeah.
Interesting. Consumption of
Probably
tiger meat
open.
is highly illegal, though an illicit black market persists, primarily fueled by commercial tiger farms.
Yeah.
Despite strict domestic bans, thousands of tigers are bred in captivity across the country, creating a complex web of illegal luxury. Luxury consumption is a crazy word. That's a crazy phrase, luxury consumption of tiger meat. Traditional beliefs and international conservation concerns.
Well, it's what you just said earlier that started this conversation, that people go to restaurants and eat exotic animals and
Bear gallbladder.
bear gallbladder. But another
valuable.
thing,
Yeah.
wait, back to Monsters of God, look up Chinese giant salamander farms. Those are
Yeah.
unbelievable. That's a salamander this big that can eat, like a rat or a rabbit. It's a salamander that they eat and farm in China.
I've seen that online. I've seen them cook it
and that's
in
a-
TikTok videos.
Yeah.
And that's a really rare animal. Those guys are really rare. So
Oh, really? And that yet they're still cooking them and eating them?
there's two types of giant salamanders. There's a Japanese giant salamander and a Chinese one. The Chinese one is massive.
Can I see that?
Is
Well,
massive,
I've-
and they're just
What, Jamie?
It said the one I stumbled down. It says it's AI, so I was.
Oh.
It's an incredible animal, but they farm a lot of things that you would never think of. Yeah, turtles, salamanders.
I just, the
Tigers.
luxury consumption market, just seeing that phrase, is like, what a weird culture.
Yeah.
You have luxury consumption of highly illegal endangered species. And that was what a friend of mine who had been to China said that was what the whole rhino horn thing was. It wasn't even as much as they believed that it would do it. It was just that this guy had rhino horns.
Yeah.
Status
Yeah.
symbol. Status
Very
symbol.
wealthy people.
Yeah.
Guy's got you want some rhino horn tea? Let's have a seat.
You
Like
got-
gentlemen.
Come to my wine cellar, and in it I got some rhino horn. I got a couple turtles that are worth
It's
a
like
couple.
what's the difference between that and rare wine from 50 years ago?
Well, first of all, an animal
You
doesn't
don't have to
die. It's
kill
just
it.
wine. Yeah, you don't have tiger dick in your wine. What is the tiger bone wine? What is that about? Is it wine they soak in bones of tigers?
Sure, it's a barrel.
Is that what it is?
I mean, they have sake with vipers in them. There's a snake in Japan called a habu, and I remember getting sake, and this really incredible snake was in my sake. But, you know, like, look, we're hypocrites in this country. We eat tuna, and they're endangered, and in Asia they eat other things.
Are
that
they endangered? Tuna?
Yeah, tuna.
Endangered?
Certain species of tuna, I think, are becoming pretty endangered. They're not what they were.
They certainly not the same numbers that they used to be at the turn of the century.
Yeah. So I think it's easy to point fingers at other parts of the world when we've done a lot of things here. You know, we had passenger pigeons that, you know, made the skies dark, and we shot every one of them. We had Carolina parakeet. We almost got rid of our condors and bison. We've done a lot of damage, but there's a lot of damage.
Not you and me. We shouldn't say we.
Well,
People that lived here. It's not us.
Well, why is our show called Monsters of God? We're the monsters, not the reptiles. We did a lot of damage. In the past, I'm just saying. Some of us, yeah.
Yeah. It's a very small percentage of people that are out there eating turtles.
Yeah. Well, you're a good guy, and I know that actually. Somehow you didn't have maybe the mother I had, but you must have had something good.
What, with my love of animals?
Yeah, you got a good moral compass. I've watched you. You know what's right and wrong.
Well, certainly when eating tiger dick. I think there's better ways to go about your life.
But the recovery stuff is real. You know, there's a lot of cool stuff happening with species recovery, and in this case, the plowshare tortoise is on its way back. I mean, you have to kind of still protect it for a while. That's expensive. That's expensive. You know, anti-poaching and security. It's a lot of work.
I agree that it's important, but I am also fascinated by our desire to sort of manage nature, because 90% of any animal that's ever been alive ever is done. They're all extinct. Everything goes extinct.
And a lot of our good intentions managing nature doesn't work oftentimes. Sadly.
Oh, no. We do a terrible job.
Yeah. I mean,
especially when we bring in animals. We were talking about this yesterday with Hawaii, how they brought in mongoose to eat the rats, but mongoose are diurnal.
Rats are nocturnal.
We
know
never
that.
saw each other.
Yeah, Hawaii. It's funny you say Hawaii, because Hawaii is kind of the poster child of all the states in the country of extinction. Second is California, but Hawaii really fucked up Hawaii with cats. Mongooses were more in the Caribbean, but also Hawaii. And mongooses is why, back to the Jamaican iguana, the Jamaican iguana was extinct. We thought it was extinct because of mongooses. We've just recently found a small population, but it's a very rare iguana.
Reading a very similar thing happened with the salamanders in China. They were not originally thought of as anything special until the mid-20th century, when famine forced people to find new stuff to eat. They started eating them and liked it, so they made a lot of places to do that.
Oh, and that's what led them to
so then they reintroduced them back into the wild because there was too many of them, which created a new problem. It says
there you go.
They created a new species. So now you have hybrid salamanders, which is also like what we have that here in Austin.
It's the same story over and over again.
What do these fuckers look like?
Look at
giant,
that thing.
Whoa! Can I see photos of a giant salamander?
They are so massive. Wow. They're so massive.
Look at the size of that thing. There's a bunch of videos of guys cooking them in woks outdoors.
Yeah.
And so is that another thing where it's like one of those exotic things that you're not supposed to have, and that's why they're cooking it?
Yeah.
Because I mean, it looks. There's a funny one where a dude's singing. He's like rapping over it, and the guy's cooking about a guy cooking a dragon. This is how you cook a dragon.
Yeah, they're pretty impressive.
But it is a weird desire that people have to eat something like incredibly exotic and rare. Whoa, look at that sucker.
Yeah, that's a real one, yeah.
Giant salamander cooked 8 ways.
Yeah.
I don't know what that word is, Jaimen seafood, China.
You know, that was one creature we wanted to film, and I never got to film for Monsters of God, because that also is a monster of God.
So these guys are taking them, they're alive, and they're going to bring them over and kill them and cook them. So this is an endangered animal that this guy's killing and cooking?
Yeah, it is.
Wow, that's crazy.
But they breed
But they
them.
sort of know it. It's not by necessity.
They know it's endangered, and he's still boiling it up. Yeah. So it's the fact that this luxury item, that you get to eat this luxury item.
Yeah.
What does it look like? See what it looks like at the end. Kind of crazy. A lot of meat.
Yeah.
Looks delicious.
Wow. Yeah.
Would you eat it if you were there, or would you feel bad?
I wouldn't eat it, but I've been.
It's already there, though. It's already dead.
I've been in Southeast Asia with friends that ate dog, and I just couldn't eat it. But I'm not very adventuresome.
I can't. I would only have. The only way I'd eat a dog is if it tried to bite one of my kids. But if it's like dogs, it's different.
But we eat cattle, and in India they don't eat cows, and then other places eat horses, and then they eat dogs.
Sure.
We have our own,
Yep.
sort of cultural norms about certain animals that we just can't wrap our head around.
And ways
eating.
we justify.
But I've seen dogs
Yeah.
being killed in Sulawesi in huge numbers in Indonesia. Just the way they kill them, and then they take these blowtorches and burn the hair off of them, and people buy them just like you're in a regular grocery store.
Yeah.
The way they, and it's just. What's normal in one culture, those are snapping turtles, American snapping turtles. What's normal in one culture.
So have these been imported into Asia?
Yeah, they're big. And we still eat those, by the way, in New Orleans and the Southeast. We eat snapping turtles.
But also
And
being
we eat
sucked out.
we eat them in
Yeah.
gumbo, but in Asia, they really love our American turtles.
And snapping turtles are not endangered in America.
No, but alligator snapping turtles are.
Oh, those things are crazy looking.
Yeah.
Which is
They have this.
which you have in
to
Texas,
lure
by the
fish
way.
in. It's a.
They have what?
This little looks like bait.
They're an ambush predator. They have a little appendage on their tongue.
Watch
the
them
fish
feed.
is attracted
The video of
to
them
it.
feeding
alive.
is incredible.
They got alligators? They're serving up alligators
crocodiles.
too? Crocodiles?
Tied up.
Crocodiles. Yeah, crocs.
Jesus Christ.
Wild.
Imagine just hanging out there, watch his buddies get butchered.
You're good at finding gruesome stuff over there.
I mean,
There's a lot out
Damn,
there.
you're going to really
There's a lot out
gross
there.
out
Yeah.
gross out a lot of people.
So, you say you guys have a bunch of projects always kind of in the works. Like, how do you go about choosing them? You just like find these very bizarre people and these very bizarre niche groups and.
And I think, listen, I am more aware of time as I get older, so you got to choose carefully what you want to do because it takes time to make these projects. So, a lot of them, we hope there's some silver lining or something maybe positive about telling these stories and not just frivolous stories about freaky people. But it helps to have some freaky people in a story to make people interested sometimes. But that's not the real goal. We're also doing projects that have nothing to do with wildlife. I did a documentary in the last 10 years about my mom and my parents. And, I don't know if anyone will ever see that. And they both died, but I did that to keep them relevant. And I had a crazy family, a gay father and a crazy mother who was into animals. And so, everyone has a crazy family. But we did a story that we're working on about New York. And we're also doing some other animal stories. So not everything sees the light of day.
Right, but these last three big ones that you guys did are all about people and their bizarre relationship with strange animals.
Yeah.
What else? What's next?
I mean, we're doing a really interesting project right now that should come out next year that I think you'll like, Joe. I have to say, there are big carnivores in it again and some really far out people that and you may have known personally. I don't think I can tell you who they are, but they were very famous and some
All
of
right. We don't have to say
Anyway,
it.
but we're
It's
doing a
good.
project about that, and we're doing.
What a tease you are.
I know that was a. It was,
No,
you
that's
kept
kind of-
feeding into the tease too.
I had too
Yeah.
much coffee. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we're really interested in a few other topics that people don't really talk about. We always talk about the charismatic megafauna, and we're interested in some of the groups of animals that we don't even think about.
But it's also, I mean, this time we live in media. There's so much stuff that gets made that no one sees, and it's a shame, especially, some of this independent work, especially some of this documentary work. It takes many, many, many years, and many people are only really able to show it to the people that know about the issues, and nothing happens, especially if there's an impact aspect to it.
Right.
So I think our formula is great. It happens to be, these subcultures that have a higher propensity of finding crazy people or people with far out beliefs. More than anything, it's more beliefs that are more interesting, that make us curious.
Well,
so I think that's this sort of mixture of conservation storytelling plus far out beliefs, in a niche that are able to zoom out and talk about themes of extinction or attachment or ego or crime,
Maybe there's something to the overfishing thing to do because
There's been a lot
it's a
done on
giant
it.
issue.
It's a huge issue. There's been a lot done on it, but I think there hasn't been a doc on overfishing.
I like
that
Seaspiracy.
The problem
That was-
with
the young kid
but the
was pretty
problem
good.
with a lot of those traditional documentaries, they tend to preach to
The tone is boring.
Well, they tend to preach to the converted, not the unconverted, and you want to reach a bigger audience by somehow telling that story about overfishing in a way where you can get more people seeing it that
Yeah.
don't know the issue. And the other thing I would just say, yeah, overfishing is a big deal. Invertebrates, insects, butterflies, and what's happening with insects is a big deal. We're losing a lot of really weird insects, and they haven't even been described yet. Marine fish and even tropical fish is really interesting to us. Where do all the saltwater tropical fish come from? How do you get them? They dynamite the reefs in the Philippines. They don't breed easily, saltwater tropical fish. Freshwater ones typically do. There's a lot of different groups of animals that we don't really think about and talk about that we kind of take for granted, and we think of them as disposable. We'll just put more tropical fish in our aquarium in a Vegas hotel.
And imagining de-extinction businesses are going to solve our problems. I think that's also interesting to us.
And there's just not a consciousness for smaller vertebrates and invertebrates. But I would just say one other thing that I think we do, that you probably are aware of, that people think you have to be in a city to get the weird shit going on. New York City, LA, whatever, big cities. And what I found is oftentimes it's the places that you least expected. Some weird suburban landscape where you start turning over the rocks, and you find and see that there's weirdness happening everywhere. And that is a theme in our stories. It's not gravitating to the big cities to find it. It's places where, the guy next door where you live, has a garage full of hot snakes, and the cobra escapes one day and it's in your yard, or whatever the fuck the story is. But it often is in places that you wouldn't expect it to be.
Your friend's carport.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, listen, guys, thank you again for being here. I really appreciate it. And thanks for all the work you guys put in. You've really entertained the shit out of me over the years.
Good.
And disturbed me as
Good.
well. So it's available, Monsters of God, on when does it come out?
Tomorrow.
So when this comes out?
August 6th.
August 6th. All right. Beautiful.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us again.
Thanks for being here. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you. Bye, everybody.